that. One more thing, you'll get that alert on your screen that says recording, then you'll see something that says it is being streamed. And Ms. Connolly, the meeting is yours. Have a good meeting.
Thank you. This is the February 1st, 2022 Scituate Select Board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Canfield, second by Ms. Curran. All in favor? We need a roll call vote.
Ms. Conley,
Yes?
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. This meeting is being recorded and is also on Facebook Live. The recorded meeting will be available on Channel 9 tomorrow, which is our local cable station. If you wish to join the meeting via Zoom, simply go to the town website and click on the agenda for tonight's meeting, and it will take you to the Zoom link. It also has information if you would like to join us remotely by phone. We're conducting this meeting in accordance with Governor Baker's declaration of a public health emergency, which was declared in March of 2020. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact legal language, but I think that will suffice for tonight, and we'll make sure we get that legally correct the next time we have a meeting. But I think you all understand the reason why we're doing remote meetings at this point. Do I hear a motion to accept the agenda as written?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Vignani, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Curran. All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conley,
Yes?
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all very much. Now we'll proceed to walk-ins. We allow people to walk in at the beginning of our meetings, hence the term walk-in, allowing them to talk to us about items that are not on the agenda. But we can't have a discussion. It has to be brief, and it's just to give people access to our meeting. And if you have something more important or something that's on the agenda that you'd like to speak to, please wait until that agenda item comes up. Do I see any walk-ins? If you could raise your hand. Yes, sir. Your name and address, please. You're on mute.
Unmuted.
I did just ask Kevin to unmute.
Yep, unmuted.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Weaver, and I live at 21 Meeting House Lane here in Scituate. My comment is about the decommissioning of the Plymouth nuclear power plant and the catastrophic consequences of dumping 1 million gallons of toxic waste into Plymouth Bay. And simply said, poisoning every town from Provincetown to Boston and beyond. The name of the decommissioning company is Holtec, Holtec. Some of you may be asking yourself, how haven't you heard of this? And the truth of the matter is that they have a very long global history of being really bad guys. And here's evidence. And I might say they have very little concern for towns like ours. In December, so whatever, 5-6 weeks ago, they announced they were going to start dumping in January. So they waited until the last minute and then said, we're going to start pouring toxic waste into Plymouth Harbor. So specifically, my ask of the board is a resolution about what Scituate can legally do to stop the dumping, possibly including a class action lawsuit on part of the town against Holtec. Just as an aside, I would implore that you look up Plymouth Watch, as in the thing that keeps time, if you don't know them, for a detailed examination of everything I've just said, including legal documents. Naturally, anyone is welcome to connect with me directly at kevinaweaver@gmail.com for further discussion or whatever. My last thought is, in my view, these industries are those in imminent risk. All tourism, all forms of fishing, all forms of shell food, oysters, clams, lobsters, 50 whales that are in Plymouth Bay, all real estate, not to mention the health of every one of our townspeople for generations. This is of utmost consequence to the town, and I implore that we take action immediately. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Weaver. Thanks for coming in. If you could provide the select board office with some documentation or information, it's
Sure.
something that we would consider perhaps putting on our agenda. And that's how we would have to handle this. We couldn't just decide tonight to do such a thing.
Understood. But is a resolution a reasonable focus for the board?
We routinely do endorsements and recommendations. I'm not sure whether or not the board will want to do this or not, but I think it depends on the information that you provide us with and what the action steps are. So it will need some discussion among us and go on to one of our future agendas. Jim, have you had any experience where a select board itself can adopt a resolution, or does that have to be strictly done at town meeting?
No, the board can adopt a resolution asking for certain actions to be taken. So
Okay. All right,
Who should I direct the mail to or
to the
data?
select board, to Lorraine Devon. She's the executive assistant. She handles all of our information.
I spoke to Lorraine today, so all good.
Yes, yes.
I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate the opportunity, especially coming in as a walk-in or a
Well,
stand-in.
thank you for coming in. And I think we all know something's happening down there, but to bring it to our attention in a more forceful way is probably a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time and thoughts.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Anyone else walk in? If you could raise your hand. Yes, if you could give me your name and address, please.
Hi, I am Elise McIver. For my address, we are here for 131 Front Street.
Okay. And your comment is?
she's later on the agenda.
Yeah.
Kayla, you're on the agenda for later on, so.
Yes, you asked if anyone walked in, sorry.
Yeah, the
No,
board
that-
will,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
If
board
you-
will call you when we get to that agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify for everyone, once again, if you are on our agenda, then you don't need to speak up in walk-ins. Walk-ins are simply for people who would like to say something. It's not on our agenda, and they understand that we can listen to what they have to say, but we can't do anything about it. We can just listen to what you have to say. And if you're on the agenda, then you just need to wait until your turn comes up, okay? Okay. Anybody else? I don't see anyone. So perhaps we can proceed to the report of the town administrator. Jim has had a very busy week or so.
It got
Including-
busier today, so let me
Including
update the
today.
board on what happened this afternoon at about 2:35 today. The Scituate Emergency Communications Dispatch Center received a call from a Marshfield resident who was walking on the beach in Hummerock that a boat was sinking off Fourth Cliff. Scituate Police, Fire Department, and Harbor Master were immediately dispatched. They were joined by the Marshfield Fire Master, Harbor Master. Coast Guard was dispatching assets also. The Scituate Harbor Master with our new Scituate Fireboat with fire personnel on board and the Scituate Police Marine Unit and the Marshfield Harbor Master Unit arrived at the scene, began conducting a search of the area. Officers on the beach in Hummerock were able to direct them to what they thought was an unknown object in the water. About a mile offshore, they went there. They found 3 individuals clinging to debris from a 55-foot vessel that had overturned and sank off the coast. The water was about 42 degrees out there. We estimate they'd been in the water for about 45 minutes when our rescue units got there. 2 of the victims were pulled onto the Scituate Harbor Master / fireboat. The 3rd victim was pulled onto the Scituate Marine Unit boat. They were transported to the Scituate Harbor Master dock and then to South Shore Hospital where they are at this point. And I have no update on their condition. We are fairly confident if the woman hadn't been walking on the beach and hadn't seen the boat sink, we would not have known about it. The boat was out of Gloucester. So we were very, very fortunate that that person saw that. We were also very fortunate that we have assets now that can actually respond to that. If this had happened 4 years ago, neither of the 2 boats that we had responded were here and they would have been in the water. So I think tragedy was averted today. Fantastic work by the police, the fire, and the harbor master, as well as Mike DeMayo and his crew from Marshfield. As soon as I get an update on the condition of the victims, I'll let you know. but they were taken to the hospital. The ambulances were here, waiting in Cole Park when they got back. They were whisked away to the emergency room right from there. So a fantastic job done by those crews. Once we have more data, I think we can bring them in and have them give us an update as to exactly what occurred. But difficult situation and a fantastic job done by our public safety professionals today. Good news, COVID numbers are trending down for the past week. Maven data number as of yesterday was 48, which was down from 94 the previous week. That does not include any data from Saturday. Saturday was a 0 recorded in Maven. Obviously, because of the blizzard, they didn't do any testing that day. But normally we would have gotten 15 or 20 on that day. So we're still down significantly from the 94 of the week before. The total number reported to the Board of Health this week, including home tests, was 278, which was down from 466 reported the previous week. Positivity rating was 16.5, down from 21.05. Plymouth County was at 19.8, down from 24.06. And the state positivity rating was 8.92, down from 13.7 of the previous week. So the COVID numbers are trending in the right direction. That's my understanding. Hospitalizations are also down. So we are going in the right direction, but we continue to urge people, if you have not been vaccinated, please get vaccinated. If you have not been boosted, please get boosted. As of right now, anyone over the age of 5 is eligible to receive a booster or a vaccine. They're very easy to get at this point, so please go out and do so. It is very good protection against getting significantly ill from the COVID vaccine virus. So please get vaccinated. The more people who are vaccinated, the better chance we have of eventually, finally, coming out of COVID. Wooders Walk Clubhouse, the floor is going down even as we speak. We had some issues last time with putting the floor down, so we're using a different method this time. That's going in. We've put the RFP back out for the clubhouse. Ian has 4 different vendors that are going to look at it that are very interested. So we're going to hope that we get it summoned in there for the spring. It's going to be great. As soon as it's done, we'll get out and take a look at it. And I hope we do get a very good vendor in there for the spring golf season. The Charter Review Committee will be holding a charter review update this Saturday at 1 p.m. It was canceled from last Saturday because of the storm. It is a Zoom call. The link is on the town website, and also the documentation as to what they're proposing to change is also on the town website. As Ms. Connolly intimated at the beginning, it was kind of a busy weekend around here in Scituate. I want to thank the DPW, the police, and the fire department crews for an outstanding job this weekend. The conditions were treacherous. At some point, the visibility was near 0, yet they kept going. They kept plowing. The police and fire staged up. We did not have any water or weather-related rescues, so that was a good thing. I know we did have some weather-related incidents about shoveling afterwards, but we did not have to make any rescues during the storm. And if you had been out in it and you saw the work that the DPW was doing, it was really tremendous. They plowed on the street, and 5 minutes later, the street would be gone from all the blowing and drifting snow, yet they were able to get everything done, cleaned up in time for school on Monday. And again, all 3 departments deserve a fantastic thank you. And your public safety team, your police, your fire, the DPW work extremely well together. They communicate very well, and they really do a good job making sure the assets are in place when these storms happen. Having said that, I know people are tired of snow. I know people are tired of shoveling, but I have to ask, we have warmer weather scheduled this week. We also have some rain scheduled for the end of the week. So we are asking people if they know where the catch basin is in front of their house, to please take a couple minutes and uncover the catch basin so that the water has a place to go. We are also cautioning people that with the melting during the day, it will be cold at night. So we will have some icy conditions. There could be some black ice. So please use caution when you're out driving. And if you have problems, let us know. But if you could get out there and shovel out those catch basins, that'll give the water a place to go and get it off the road. Also, as long as you're out there shoveling, you have the shovel in your hand. It is very important, as I know from personal experience this weekend, that you get the fire hydrant shoveled out. If you have a fire hydrant in front of your house or in front of your neighbor's house, please help us out by shoveling that out. We all know seconds count in an emergency situation. And anytime the fire department has to spend shoveling on a hydrant to hook up their hoses, is time wasted that they could be actually fighting the fire and helping your family. So please take a couple minutes, go out there, shovel the hydrants, make sure they're clear and ready in case we have any emergency. And that's really what I have for this evening.
Well, Jim, without your leadership, everything wouldn't have gone quite as smoothly as it did. I had the privilege of being in the emergency operations meeting on Thursday, and everyone was calm. There were about 30 people there. Everyone knew what their job was. Everyone knew what to do. And you've really got a great team, and your leadership has been very effective. So I think I am speaking on behalf of all the townspeople and especially the board for your leadership. And if you don't know what Jim was referring to, he went home on Saturday evening only to find that there was smoke in his house, and it was traced to something beneath the fireplace, Jim?
It was actually a fire in the flooring under the fireplace hearth. Yeah.
Who knew? So at any rate, I just want to say we're happy you're fine. We're happy. It could have been a true tragedy. So thank you to everyone who responded to that. And it was just the end of a fairly stressful day. So thank you,
It turns
Jim.
out to be a long day. Yeah. And again,
Yeah,
as you said,
really.
the staff here is fantastic. They know what they're doing when it comes to an emergency. And Scituate Fire responded first. They were fantastic. Norwell Fire responded. I want to thank them. They did a great job. But hopefully you never have to use them. The damage wasn't that bad. We got the house cleaned up, but I went out the next morning and shovel out the fire hydrant first thing to make sure that was available. So
Right.
thank you.
All right. Does the board have any questions, comments?
I just want to say, Karen, additional thank you. I don't, if you haven't had a chance to watch the harrowing video of this afternoon's rescue, I mean, what our public safety people, the position that they put themselves in to save those fishermen, you know, they really deserve some deep, deep gratitude. And it's cold out there, and they did a fabulous job. So thank you to all of them, and thank you to our Marshfield neighbors.
Absolutely. Did I see anyone else? Karen Canfield?
Yeah, I don't want to at all take away from all of the incredible work that's been done. I wanted to make one snarky remark that I was a little concerned that the fire at Jim's house was, because not only was Saturday all of that, it was his birthday. So
Yes.
it wasn't the candles, but you know.
It will be a birthday I will long remember. Absolutely.
Yes.
So happy birthday to you. Just one area that could use a little TLC tomorrow is the North Scituate town parking lot, and then the access points to get out to the parking lot or get out to the business district. The sidewalks that are on town property, that could obviously it wasn't a huge priority, but it could use a little help tomorrow if you could look at that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on the list. That's what we've been doing the last pretty much all day today,
Right.
is chasing that stuff. So we'll make sure that's on the list for tomorrow.
Yep, that's I've been watching with amazement how diligently they've been clearing all that stuff. So I just wanted to point that out. So thank you.
Well, and if I could, I'd also like to mention that the senior center was open on Sunday for anyone if they didn't have power, if they needed to get warm, if they wanted to plug in a cell phone or get on the internet. And there was hardly anyone there, but it was really nice to know that it was there. And thank you to Linda Hayes and all the volunteers who came in to be there. So, and they even had lunch ready. So thank you to them. Anyone else? All right. Next item on the agenda is to discuss, vote, new common victualler license XR Foods LLC, doing business as Crossroads Sandwiches, 48 to 52 New Driftway. Ben Cutler is the owner. And that is, for everyone's information, the building that is under construction down in Greenbush, and it's the gas station is behind it. And this is the stores. In one of the stores in front, and it's coming right along. So is Mr. Cutler here?
I am here.
Nice to see you. Welcome.
Nice to see you too. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about this? We have all the backup information. No? All right.
Can you just tell us
Yes.
a little bit about, can you just tell us, Ben, a little bit about your business? I did some research on you, and I can tell you my husband's ecstatic to have some barbecue if I identified it properly.
Well, yeah, a little bit. So the background of the company itself, XR Foods, is partly barbecue, but partly just down home good food. And so we started out with our barbecue sauce, and we'll be expanding that brand but we want to put the sandwich shop in that area so we can have really good, straightforward sandwiches. We'll have some signature sandwiches that are elevated, but it's not going to be like this crazy, French Laundry style. It's going to be just good, solid sandwiches with fresh ingredients, the best we can get kind of thing. So simple, done very, very well. And the backstory of me is that I've been cooking for, I did about 15 or 16 years professionally in the South Shore, including Tosca. I was an opening sous chef at Atlantico back when it was the iteration it started. And then of course it changed a million times. But I've been doing it for a while. I've lived in Hingham my whole life. And, I have relatives and friends live in Scituate in the South Shore. So I just want to bring some good food there. And the barbecue part that you asked about, yes, that's a component, but it's not a barbecue shop per se.
Okay.
We'll do barbecue specials. We'll smoke some meats and that sort of thing. But, far be it for me to go toe to toe with Rivershed across the street. So I'm not trying to, make enemies. I just want to make good food.
Sounds good.
I guess some of the best barbecue joints are in gas stations anyway across the country. So-
I'm certainly hoping that that we get to that similar point, where a little bit of word of mouth, because barbecue is a passion of mine, certainly, and so is just making great food.
Well, sounds good.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
Move that the select board vote to approve new 2022 common vicular license to XR Foods LLC doing business as Crossroads Sandwiches, pending the Board of Health approval.
Thank you, Ms. Canfield. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vignani. All in favor? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Aye.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Welcome to Scituate. We're looking forward to your store opening up.
Hey,
Thank you
Ben,
very
do you
much.
have
I really
a-
appreciate it.
Do you have an estimated time frame?
Yeah, right now we're looking at May 1st, and the only thing that will likely, let's say it probably will hold us up, is shipping of some equipment. The lead times on everything are just nuts. So we're slated for May 1st. We'll see if we can get a hood in time.
Good luck.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Appreciate it.
And next is discuss vote new common victualler license, Harbourside Nutrition LLC, 131 Front Street, Leah Simmons, owner. Is Ms. Simmons here?
So the other owners are here. Leah is actually coaching a basketball game right now. She coaches
Okay.
for Fontbonne.
So who is speaking on behalf?
So it's multiple owners. So I'm Elise McIver, and then the other
Thank you.
owner, Kayla O'Brien, is also here in this.
Okay,
So we will be here, and Leah's going to try to hop on if she can, but she's coaching a game tonight.
understand. Well, do you want to tell us a little bit about it? Does the business have a name?
Yeah, so the name is Harbourside Nutrition.
Okay.
Obviously, we did the
Okay.
Harbourside because we're right on the harbor. But yeah, so a little bit about it is we plan to serve just healthy protein shakes, teas, really be a spot to just have people come and hang out, get something to eat, get something to drink. It is mainly drink-based meals, if you will. But we have a few other shops. There's one in Abington in the center and then one in South Weymouth. They've been pretty successful and we've really been able to get a good community going. So we're kind of hoping to bring that to the Scituate area.
Sounds good. I looked at your menu. It looked like a Starbucks menu. I don't know how all of your people learn all those drinks, but it looks very interesting and I, welcome you to the harbor. Does the board have any questions? No? And
No,
when do you think you're gonna, Maura?
I just had a question.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell from the application, is it just a grab and go or are there any seating tables?
Yeah, so we actually do have some tables and some like lounge type areas. What it pretty much is, it's not served or anything. It is, if you will, grab and go, but there are lounge areas that you can grab it and go sit, all similar to a Starbucks. Actually, funny she brought that up. Similar to a Starbucks where you can order at the counter or you can order ahead of time and then you get your stuff. You can obviously go if you have to go, but you're more than welcome to sit, hang out, bring a laptop, get some work done. Just like I said, a good place for the community to come in and just kind of get comfortable.
Thank you. Well, it sounds delicious. I wish you
Thank you.
luck.
Indeed. Any other questions?
Yeah, just, Karen, what space is this going in? What is the, what is it, 131?
131 Front Street,
Yeah,
It's the
where,
new building, Tony. It's the renovated building where Sylvia's
the old
was.
Sylvia's,
oh,
is it?
Yep.
The old
Yes.
Sylvia's?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. So Blaine Curtis bought it and he's put in so much work. So to just make it like a really beautiful space. So we are leasing from him on one side, and then the other side will be a different. So the bottom will be 2 units. We're one of the units. And then they have another tenant going in on the other side.
so what side are you on? Because we heard there's a wine bar possibly. Is that the other tenant?
Those would be the other tenants. Yeah, we don't do wine, but so
No,
we
but-
would be the old main entrance, if you will, and then if like whatever the wine bar does, the other tenant will be on the other side next to the gas station. So that's their half, if you will.
Okay. I'm very interested in the health component of your Twinkie drink.
So they're all actually, so a little bit about them. They all have like 17 to 24 grams of protein. They're all 25 vitamins. You can use them as a full meal replacement. And they all have like 250 calories or less. So it sounds deceiving, but it tastes pretty good. So you'll have to try one.
No, I'm not really a health nut, but there's lots of things on here that are enticing me.
Yeah. it's
Tony, you
fun.
really need to listen to
healthy.
what she said. It's intended to be a full meal, not your dessert.
I mean, you can use it as dessert. It's only 200 calories. So I guess if you wanted to, but no, there'll be a little bit of something for everybody.
And when are you opening or hoping to open?
So we actually just got our permit issued a few weeks ago, and we started work last week. So we're hoping, I mean, somewhere in the March timeframe, ideally, if we can get it turned around fast enough. But anywhere in the spring, March, April, that timeframe is really where we're hoping to be. But like, as he had said before, the industry is so backed up, equipment is so backed up. So it'll really be, we're kind of at the mercy of that.
Right.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
Sure, move that the select board vote to approve a new 2022 common vicular license to Harbourside Nutrition LLC.
Motion by Ms. Curran, second by
Second.
Mr. Goodrich. Roll call vote, please.
Miss Conley,
Yes.
Miss Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Miss Karen,
Yes,
Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Welcome to the harbor.
Thank
Yes,
you.
good
We
luck.
appreciate your time.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
Good luck.
thank you, good luck.
So is 6:57. I think we have to wait until 7 o'clock to conduct the public hearing. It's good to see businesses opening up in the harbor. It's good to see Greenbush continuing to expand. Everything's looking good. That's all I have to say. Does anyone else want to fill up two more minutes?
What, do we want to approve any meeting minutes or anything, Karen? No,
Yes, we
this is-
could.
if There's anything
Do I hear a
else?
motion to approve the meeting minutes of? Can someone give me the date?
I can give you the date.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's, I'm
Okay.
sorry,
January.
January 18th and
11th.
January 11th with the
Yeah.
planning board.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the joint meeting of the select board and the planning board and the minutes of the January 18th meeting of the select board? Is that
So
right?
moved. Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
so
Roll
moved.
call. Second by
Second.
Mr. Goodrich, all in favor? Roll call vote, please.
Miss Conley,
Yes.
Miss Canfield,
Yes on the joint meeting and abstain from the other. I was absent.
okay. Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Miss Karen,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani. Mr. Vignani,
And Yanni?
He's
Are you
muted.
muted?
Yes.
All right, so motion approved 5-0 for the meeting minutes of January 18th of the select board and 4-0, one abstention for
I
the.
think it's the
joint
other way
meeting of-
around, I think.
I knew that was going to happen to me. All right,
I have it.
all right, you have it. We know what we
Yes.
mean, right?
Yes.
So 4-0 with 1 abstention on the select board joint meeting with the planning board. Thank you. Well, that took us to 7 o'clock. Okay. So we have a public hearing, discussion and vote of Untold Brewing Farmer Series pouring permit for alteration of licensed premise. Matt Elder, founder and president. Matt, I think I see Matt here. Yes. How
Hi.
are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Would you like to tell us what you're doing?
Yeah. Back last May, we reopened our doors after 15 months being closed during the pandemic. So we opened under the governor's emergency order that allowed expanded outdoor seating so we could provide a safe, comfortable environment for our guests to return. And it worked great for us. It provided, we basically put seating out on the lawn, on the side and in front of our building. It was very well received. Everybody loved it. So we are trying to make that a permanent part of our tap room right now so we can continue to seat people outside. And I don't know the way things are going. I don't know if the pandemic will ever end. Hopefully the light at the end of the tunnel is quickly approaching, but we're just trying to continue to use that space, keep everybody happy, keep everybody safe. And it worked really well. We're not looking to change anything that we've been doing for the past, I guess, 9 months now. Although we don't have too many people sitting outside right now, but in the summertime, it's been very popular. So we're just trying to keep everything the same as it was in 2021 as we head into warmer months ahead in 2022. Same it was in 2021.
All right. This is adding some seats though, right, to the current?
It's not adding any capacity. Basically, what we did is shift seats from inside to outside. It actually worked great for us. It opened up some additional room for storage. We're kind of outgrowing our building from a production standpoint, which is great. But it did open up some space for additional storage inside and really just shifted seats around. So it added seats outside. We took away some seats inside. So it's kind of net zero.
Net zero. Okay. All right. Does the board have any questions? Tony?
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Tony.
Can you just go over a little, just explain in layman terms? I'm trying to look at the picture and I'm reading it. So you've got your tap room there and you're just expanding the patio that's off to the right of that?
So the patio, there'll be no structural changes.
Right.
The patio has a step that goes down to the lawn.
Yep.
And what we did was set up some kind of low kind of Adirondack chairs and tables down on the lawn area, which allowed people to sit out on the lawn. Previously, that wasn't included in the initial application I filed for our liquor license back in 2017. But under the governor's emergency orders, we were allowed to do it without filing all this extra paperwork. So we put people out on the lawn and it just opened up the whole place. People really enjoyed it. So it's not that there's no expansion of the patio. It's just kind of people spilling over, I guess, onto the lawn area.
Okay. And the seating, are you taking seats from inside and putting them out?
Yeah, we basically moved. There was a seating area next to the bar area in the tap room in the larger of the buildings. And it's just taking those seats away during the summertime and letting people sit outside. And honestly, it worked great because when it's warm and sunny out, people don't want to be inside anyway.
Okay, so it's a seasonal thing. You're going to move them outside in the summer, bring them back in the winter.
Yep, exactly.
Great. Great idea.
Any other comments? Karen Canfield?
Yep. Hi, Matt. I could tell you it was delightful. I sat out in those Adirondack chairs a couple of times. The only question of making it permanent, I didn't see this, but I just want to talk through it, is there's no barrier. Somebody can walk right over to the patio from the sidewalk. But what provisions do you have to just sort of, police, I hate to use the word police, but basically police that place? I say this in abundance of caution. I thought it was extremely appropriate and comfortable when I used it, was sitting there myself. But I think it's our job to ask that question.
Yeah, of course. No, it's a great question. Yeah, put up signage. We can definitely make the signage more permanent. We just had some temporary signs that we would post in the ground saying, no alcohol beyond this point, please stay in the lawn area, don't wander in the parking lot. But, it's signage. So you have to read it in order to follow it. But that's what we've been doing to date. We can definitely make that signage more permanent, or even put up some sort of a, without closing it completely off, some kind of a more structural barrier. Definitely open to that.
Any other questions?
They would need to put
Comments?
some sort of barrier, even just ropes, something like that, to delineate where the service begins and ends. So very simply, you can go down and watch what they do down the harbor to delineate the outdoor patio seating from the walkway. It's really has to be something though that delineates where the patio is and where the outside of that patio is. So
Yeah, we can definitely.
Matt, it could be pretty simple. You want to talk to me about it, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if I can say, if there's been one benefit, and there's not been many of the pandemic, is that it's brought a lot of life to our streets, especially during the summer, fall time. It's nice to see people outside and with their dogs and their kids. And so it's been a nice thing that's happened. So if there are not any more questions from the board, is there anyone here from the general public who would like to make a comment, since this is a public hearing? Do I see, I don't know whether this is a hand up. Bob Green?
Bob Green does not have his hand up, Ms. Connolly. You
Oh,
are good.
what is that? What is that? I'm seeing, never mind. I'll talk to you later about it. All right. So I don't see anyone. So if I could hear a motion?
I can do one for you. Move that the select board approve an alteration of premise for the annual Farmers Series pouring permit for malt license for Untold Brewing, 6 Old Country Way. The alteration premise is an expansion to a 1,576 square foot outdoor lawn area on a single level. This lawn area is uncovered and is accessible from the patio area, and will have lawn chairs at approximately 6 small tables that seat 4 to 6 people each. Potential seating capacity for this lawn area is 36 people. The total occupancy for the entire brewery premise will remain at 49.
Second.
Second by Ms. Curran. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
and Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you and good luck, Matt.
Great. Thank you very much.
Summer's coming eventually.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Good night. So now we have discuss vote FEMA reimbursed Oceanside Drive outfall repair, $196,215. Sean McCarthy, DPW engineering supervisor, is with us. I see you there with the piece of heavy equipment behind you, I think. Or no, that's a surveying
Okay.
instrument, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Yeah, before you tonight is a contract to award for the construction of the repair of a stormwater outfall on Oceanside Drive. There are 2 of them located on Oceanside Drive. One we've repaired recently with the seawall repair. And the end of this one, I included a photo of it in your packet, shows the head of the outfall structure had fallen off. That was during Storm Riley. We've been going back and forth with FEMA for their estimates, and it came down to the suggestion of put it out to bid and we'll stop arguing about 4 hours here and 6 hours there. So we put it out to bid. Last week, we heard that they were finally happy with the numbers. We're not going to do estimates anymore. Here's the actual bid. So this will be the award to Northern Construction for the replacement of the stormwater outfall on the end of that structure. 75% of this 196,215 will be reimbursable by FEMA. So the town will be responsible for $49,053.
And had we already appropriated that amount of money at a town meeting, or do we have to?
No, there have been FEMA repair funds already awarded. I believe it was 4 million. We've been tapping into that to do the alternatives analysis and repair designs and things along the way to get these things fixed. Yes.
And what happened to it last week? Is it worse than it was?
Not from what the guys told me. We had them walk the coastline yesterday just to make sure we didn't miss any reports or see anything happening out there that we've been watching all along through
Right.
all of these, and they didn't report any changes. So,
All right.
yeah, it was good on the coast.
Anyone from the board? No? Do I hear a motion? Yeah, Tony, you have something?
Yeah, just a quick question. Sean, where is this?
This one's across from Kenneth, closest to the inn or the former inn on Oceanside Drive.
Yeah.
If that kind of by near Turner, it's the vacant town-owned parcel. We
Okay,
did the repair on the seawall 2 or 3 years ago. The
right,
vacant
when
lot.
it breached by the end. What am I looking at? There's a big cement block. Is that the output?
Yes, yep, the one laying in the sand
Yeah,
on the bottom photo.
for
Yeah,
the bot?
you have 2 photos there?
I have 2.
Yeah. You can see how the sand comes and goes depending upon when you're on the beach. Part of it's buried. But the top photo, you can see the posts that it's supposed to be sitting on.
Okay,
It's actually a precast structure that they'll lower from the landward side and replace those piles, sit it back on the piles and then reconnect it to that concrete outfall that extends. It's about 100 feet from the seawall.
is it? Because it looks pretty close in this photo.
Right? The last page, the plan attachment, which is actually from the construction documents. It's like an aerial view,
Yeah,
shows the outfall and then shows the square on the land where the crane would set up to mobilize and extend out.
so that during low tide, that is, you can see it, right?
Yes, yes,
And that's just taking street water and putting it out in the ocean.
correct. And the way it's designed, it prevents the rocks and the stones from going back upwards the pipe as the tide
Right.
comes back in.
So is it just from the drainage system? It's just from street drains that flow down into that?
Yes,
And are they doing work on the drains so that boards and stuff that's gotten in there in the past and clogged it up doesn't?
yeah, we'll investigate that once they take the end of that off and we can look clearly up the end of the pipe. Right now,
Right.
you can't do that because of the way it's twisted. You can get your head in so far, but yeah, just to see what's up inside that. Yep.
Okay, so they're gonna repair this whole length of passage if
Good.
necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they'll clean any debris out.
Yeah.
There's a pipe encased in that concrete sleeve that you see extending out into the water. There could be some debris in that, especially since it's been dislodged. So we'll get that cleaned out when they take the end of that off.
So what is the main part of the job exactly? To take the end off and get it situated where it's supposed to be on top of that beam again? And then clean out anything that's in that cement tube?
Right, replace the piles that it used to sit on.
Right,
Those are bent and worn. They were steel casing with concrete inside. So they'll pull that top piece off, dispose of it, pull those 2, I believe there's 4 piles under the end of that. Pull those and redrive 4 new piles for the new precast structure to sit on that they'll form, in a concrete plant. Lower that on and then attach it to what's out there. The concrete that already extends. There's a plastic pipe inside, so that should be in good shape.
okay. All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? If not, I'd just like to ask, do the neighbors know that this is going to happen?
They were notified when we did the conservation, the local permit with DEP and the Scituate Conservation Commission. So anybody within 100 feet was. We certainly, once we solidify the contract and we get some type of time schedule from them, I'm happy to notify the adjacent abutters that it's happening. I know the stone house that's just to the right of this changed owners between our permitting and design of the seawall repair there. And they came in and started fixing it and she didn't know what was happening. And then she said, oh, I just bought this a month ago.
Right.
But I'm happy to reach out to the local neighbors when I have a schedule.
Well, because we all know that what we think is good and is generally probably a good thing to do, sometimes people don't understand. And if they don't understand, they get upset. So hopefully the neighbors will be, informed about what's happening, why it's happening, and be happy that it's being fixed, I hope.
I haven't seen a lot of cars in the neighborhood as of late, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Karen, you raise a good issue because this happened with us at Egypt Beach, right? So the
I am
time
asking.
we go to when we go to the abutters and when the project actually gets, is shovel ready, I think you got to go back and just let them know that it's going to happen.
Can do.
So if any abutters are actually listening to us either tonight or on tape tomorrow, if you have any questions, you can certainly call the DPW office to ask about it. So
Be happy to answer any questions.
great. Andrew?
But, another quick question. I understand there's so much sand and rocks and everything, but there's no way, there's no sort of filter or anything. We're kind of just hoping that none of this stormwater, the water, that the folks around there are being good stewards. There's nothing that you know of that could be there to kind of stop any potential pollutants, I guess, so to speak. Right. I don't know of any. I'm just asking because it's
Not that I'm aware of or received any calls on. We will investigate this further once they get out there and start taking this apart. The one closer to 7th Ave, we added a backflow gate too. And in fact, a resident on 7th was in today for a different reason and said she's never seen it drain like it's draining now. So we're definitely seeing improvements from little things that we're doing underground that you can't see. They're making an improvement down in that area. So we'll certainly look at this area as well. We try not to include too many things outside, and Nancy will probably agree with me on this. They like to look at the repair of what was damaged during the storm. And when you start to complicate it by adding this or adding that and saying, don't worry, you're not paying for it, they get really wrapped around the axle and can really slow things down. So we do like to take, what we can and design it and put it in ourselves if we can eliminate it, not clump it all together. Yeah. Good question.
All right. There are no other questions or no comments from anyone in the audience. If I could hear a motion, please.
Move that the select board award the contract to repair the damaged stormwater outfall structure on Oceanside Drive to Northern Construction for $196,215, 75% of cost reimbursed by FEMA.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Goodrich. Yes, Maury had a question?
I was going to second.
Oh, second by Ms. Curran. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran, and Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you for coming in, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you all.
So next up, we have, unless I'm skipping something, which I normally do at least once during the meeting, I think we're discussing and reviewing FY23 budget presentations. And we have first up the Historical Commission, which is number 691. Is someone here from the Historical Commission? Is that Mr. Chesia?
That is, it's actually Scituate Historical Society.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, but if it's, all right, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, is this a budget that the Scituate Historical Society controls, or is this come under the aegis of the Historical Commission? I know they're two different organizations, but since this is the town budget.
I can answer that if you'd like.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we get an operating budget to maintain town properties, which we maintain 7 properties for the town. Plus, we also have 6 of our own. So there's not a cash flow on some of them. We have tenants at the Lighthouse, at the Man House, which do help with some of the repairs, and also the Bates House. But the Cudworth, Lawson Tower, the Lawson Gates, a few other ones, we use that money for, plus some of the buildings that have tenants, we actually have to use it for that too. So we asked for what we got last year, which was 23,200. And I think we do a pretty good job with it. We, this year, I mean, it's been different with COVID. We really enjoy when the school kids come 3rd grade in Massachusetts has to go to historical sites. So they go to a lot of our sites, Lawson Tower, the Lighthouse, the museum. We did have some groups this year. We actually entertained the Irish ambassador when he came up from Washington, D.C. We met him at the Maritime Irish Mossing Museum. I got to explain to him what Irish mossing was, which he sort of had a pretty good idea already. We took him around, then we took him to Third Cliff, where we could see the ocean and the North River, to the Easter Rising Memorial at Cole Parkway, then to the Lighthouse. And I took him, the last spot was Lawson Tower, where we let him play the bells. And then I sent him on his way to Cohasset. That's out of my territory. But we've had, we try to do the best we can with COVID. We've had bell concerts at Lawson Tower. We started something new. We do full moon tours, where you go up on the full moon, and we have the South Shore Astronomy Group up there with the telescope, so you could see, hopefully, the moon come up. Twice it didn't, but the people were still happy to be up there. They enjoyed going up Lawson Tower. So we also did concerts there with the bells. You know, small tours, people would call up and we would take them to, you know, the Lighthouse and so on and so forth. But we did make some significant repairs. We did a section of the back roof at the Bates House. There was a leak. We fixed that right away. Sidewall at the Lighthouse. We did some, I had to go up with Bobby Gallagher and shore up the top for Hurricane Henri, which it seemed to have worked, hopefully. We did some work at the Man House. We repaired some windows, and well, Cudworth, we also did some work. So we've done what we can with our budget. Next year, we expect we will have some major projects. We want to get the Cudworth open again, but we have to do a lot of work there. We have to paint and do some work inside. A little bit of new paint at the Mass Humane Boathouse, and we had to replace the sign. Lawson Tower, we need painting up top. We actually had a piece of molding come off, which is way at the top above where the peak of the circular stair is. I'm trying to get someone in there to see if they can actually put it from the inside without getting a big man lift to put it in. So those are major projects coming, but it's not our major project. And I think, Jim, maybe he knew what I was going to talk about, because I see the Lighthouse. We have a major project we have to undertake at the Lighthouse. We have to do a complete restoration of the lantern room. We went up and looked at it. Bobby Gallagher, who's the lighthouse keeper, had pulled off a piece of wood, and we looked, and there's wrought iron bars that extend from the top of the cupola or whatever into, they're supposedly embedded 4 feet in the concrete. Well, I went up with Bobby Stephen and we pulled off a piece of wood and looked, and they're not even, some of them aren't even connected. So I don't know how it's staying up. So we've had a couple of companies come in and look. One, Abcor from Rhode Island. They did Lighthouse down in Block Island, which I've heard a lot of positive reviews about. And we just had ICC Commonwealth, which does probably 10 lighthouses a year. They did Nauset Light, they did East Chop. 2 very good firms. I mean, of course, it has to go out to bid, but it's going to probably be a project that costs us $1 million, we're guessing. We've got feelers out for grants through a few different organizations. We'd like to use that money before we tap into CPC. I've been to CPC already. We're going to meet them again this month. Advisory, I've talked to them. I've talked to Jim, and Jim's actually been up there, so he can tell you how bad it is. But that's kind of it. I would like to thank you guys because you're very supportive of our society. And I think our buildings do look pretty good and we do try to show them off, and the town, I think, benefits from our guardianship of these buildings. But again, I want to thank you.
Well,
Any questions on anything?
I think the board will have some things to say, but I'll start out by saying we certainly all appreciate the hard work that the Historical Society, puts in to help us maintain these buildings, and that they own other buildings in town that we all know and use, like the GAR Hall, et cetera. So, and you have wonderful groups of wonderful volunteers. And so we certainly appreciate what you do. And I think that Scituate actually, as a municipality, owns more historical buildings than almost any other town in the Commonwealth, because most historical buildings are owned by societies or nonprofit organizations. So this is a little bit different. And I do know that you do a lot of work on a short budget. So thanks to everyone in the Historical Society. And we thank the Historical Commission as well for the work that they do. You guys work well together, so we appreciate it. So anyone else from the board have any observations, questions? Ms. Canfield?
Yes, Bob, yeah, the programming that you guys did to accommodate people during COVID was really impressive, and thank everybody for putting their heads together to come up with stuff that we could still enjoy our facilities and be safe. I just wanted to mention, Madam Chair, something that we're going to talk about later in correspondence or liaison reports, is we did receive a request from a member of the society for this board to write a letter of support for a grant application. So that documentation was sent to our chair today. So we'll have to take that up sooner rather than later. I don't know when that's due. I don't know if you know that, but we can look into that. But that's anything we can do to support them. I think the board would be in support of.
Jim, can planning look into that? I know that there's some new program that was introduced maybe a year ago about being able to apply for grants through one sort of a one-stop shopping thing. And I don't know if the Mass Historical
I don't
Commission-
think Mass Historic is one of those. They're more
Okay.
Mass Works and those ones. So Mass Historic's kind of out there on its own. I think the board can easily draft a letter of support for the grant.
Right. The only thing we have to know is what the deadline is. So if it's yesterday, we're in trouble. If it's tomorrow, I guess we can do it.
Coming up, I think it's, I want to say beginning of March, Bob, does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
All right. So we would have enough time to have the letter drafted and have the board vote on it. I think would be good coming from the whole board. So
Well, we get a lot of publicity because every storm they're at the lighthouse.
I know. Well, and we spent all that money to build that revetment down there to protect the
Right.
lighthouse. So I think we need to protect our investment. Anyone else from the board?
Karen, I have a question,
Yes, Maura?
and I should know this answer, so Bob and Jim and everybody else, bear with me. Do we charge rent for the lighthouse keeper? And if the answer is yes, when's the last time we looked at that?
That is the money that goes to the lighthouse keeper. We use that for repairs. I mean, probably Nancy could give you a better answer, but we just sidewall part of it. That keeps, those funds are used for repairs to the lighthouse, basically.
So the funds that I see listed as rental account are actually
Right, yeah,
the rent. Okay.
correct.
And Jim or
We-
Nancy, what do we charge and when was the last time we looked at that?
The monthly rent for the Lighthouse Keeper's Cottage is $900 a month. I have to pull the lease agreement on that. I don't know off the top of my head when the lease agreement was signed and what the last time the lease dollar value changed. It's been that as long as I can remember.
Okay.
I believe we also charge rent for the Man Farmhouse and
That's
for
true.
the Bates House, right?
No, it's
The
the
Bates
base house.
House goes to the society. When that was turned over to us, there was a deal where we maintain it. So Joe West's check goes to us.
Okay.
And that's That's
And the
gonna
man-
actually need a new roof in the front pretty soon, but that
And
might be
the
another.
man
se-
farmhouse?
The man house is $500 a month.
All right. I think what people need to understand that in the case of the lightkeeper, or, that he acts as a bit of a caretaker as well, does he not?
More than that, more than that.
Yeah.
He's a caretaker, educator. Yeah, he does
Yeah.
a lot of work there.
But so the rent may sound low, but he does a lot to more than earn, what he does. And I think in the case of the man farmhouse, it's very small
It's teeny,
living
yeah.
area, so it's not like it's some palace. And we're going to be looking at this once we get the Mordecai Lincoln House. We'll have some interesting conversation to have about that as well.
Mm.
So.
Madam Chair, I did,
Canfield?
yeah, it wasn't that long ago we did do the Lighthouse bid. I remember it going out, and the Lighthouse, as I recall, has obligations for basically being an ambassador for the town and answering questions of tourists and things like that. So there's also a job component to it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And
We actually
not everyone wants to let the general public into their houses on a, an occasional basis. So
They do come up and knock on the door and ask if they can use this bathroom.
I'm sure.
I know.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a little
The point now, he
invasive.
says no, but we do
Yeah.
he puts the walkway in, the handicap access, the boardwalk every
Yep.
spring, and we take it out in the fall.
Yep.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions, Tony?
Hey, Bob. Thanks for all the work you guys do on that. It's great. And, it's really not a big budget item, but I do have a question on two things. Do you have a list of what you're trying to do with the repair money for this year yet? Are there any, other than the big tickets things that the $15,000 is going to pay for? Or is that is it kind of just fix it when it breaks type stuff over the course of the year?
Well, during the course of the year, we have electric bills, we have natural gas, we have phone bills, usually for monitoring the alarm systems. Those are, we actually, lately, we've had exterminators because we just had a squirrel in the Cudworth house. It gnawed its way through the rake board, so we had to get someone to take him out. And we've had mice problems. I was actually, believe it or not, I was at the man house. Our tenant's afraid of mice, and she had a mouse. I had to go catch it. Which the first time I went home, I couldn't get it. I said, "But come, if you see it, call me." So she called me back. It's under the couch. I go back. She's outside. I'm going, well, how do we know it's under the couch now? But I had my grandson's net for the beach, and I caught him and got rid of him.
Yeah, I was talking about the 15,000 for the repairs of the properties.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. A lot of it's painting. A lot of windows had to be replaced, shingling, so on and so forth.
Okay, and then the other question I had was on the repair, not the repair, on the person that puts in the 5 hours a week, whatever. Does that go through payroll? How do we handle that?
That goes to Nancy. That's usually me. I usually don't charge unless it's something that takes an hour or two.
Okay, so she
I'm not
takes care
gonna,
of it.
I get called for burglar alarms all the time, and that's not, trust me.
I'm sure. All right, well, thanks for all you do. Those properties mean a lot to the town, and it's the least we can do to keep them looking good.
I got something I want to show Karen. I don't know if you can see it or not. How's that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Is that better?
That's better.
Yeah, that's a stamp, an envelope for you with a cancel stamp from the Portland Gale, and it's got your house on it.
It's got my house.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's great.
So cool.
I will leave that for you. There's a stamp for the Remember the Maine, and it's canceled. So yeah, I found
Oh
this,
my
and I figured I knew what to do with it. I got to buddy you up anyway for a budget, right?
I think you burned that over more times over, but that's exciting. Thank you for sharing that.
Is the tenant at the farmhouse aware of the fact there's never just one mouse?
Yeah, I've tried to explain that to her. It's an old house, and this is what happened. So
Yep.
I had a woman come over, Judy, a regular exterminator wasn't around, so she showed up. She went in. She did soup to nuts. She went around outside, and then she had like a one-piece overall on, and she had goggles, the mask, and then she put on the earmuffs and she threw on this backpack to spray around the house.
Oh,
She
yeah.
looked just like a Ghostbuster. It was everything I could do not to laugh, but it was amazing.
All right.
Hmm.
Well, with that said, do I hear a motion? Or we're not doing motions on budgets. Never mind. So thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. And we like to hear the stories about our historic Scituate. So appreciate it.
We have a few. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
Next up, we have Department of Public Works, Engineering, item or budget line item 411. And who's here to speak? I think I see Kevin Cafferty.
Oh, we're all here to speak and everybody's
All
very
right.
excited to discuss our budgets.
Well, then, if I could ask you, if everyone could just give a top line summary, including what the budget figure is for that particular line item, and then what changes there might have been to that line item. And if you could just sort of move down the from one department to the other rather than me interrupting to now introduce someone else. Is that okay
So
with everyone?
I'll start off with the introduction to the department, tell a little bit about the department, and then let the supervisor explain the details to their budget.
Perfect. Thank you.
So first in your book is 411 engineering.
Yes.
Yes. So Sean McCarthy is the engineering supervisor. He has 2 engineers that work for him, Jeff Chess here, Danny Smith, and they do about everything. Any town project that is involved, we have somewhere in the engineering involved. CPC projects, water projects, sewer projects, highway projects, paving. And that's it. And I'll hand it off to Sean and he can give you an outline of what he has and what the major changes are.
All right. Sean?
You're on mute, Sean.
Sorry, thank you. I'm laughing at Mike for keep doing that. Now I'm doing it. No changes to the engineering budget this year other than contractual salaries. Kevin gave a pretty good outline in terms of what we're involved in. And a few of the accomplishments this year with the Countryway Phase 2 trail project, assistance with multiple water projects, as well as all the street work that was done, water main improvements. Both of our engineers were out full-time on that, which takes away from office staff, but it's a necessary part of the division. And that's what I have for that. I'll try to be brief.
Well, I think everyone in the neighborhood, Countryway, really appreciates that being completed. Have all the telephone poles that can be moved, have they been moved?
No, I'm still following up on a work order with that. Yeah, there's 2 or 3 still need to be moved. Yeah.
Because it looks to me like some of them had already been moved. So it's looking good. And that we got money from what, Complete Streets for that, Jim?
That's correct. Yeah, $400,000. And overall, I think it was 444 for the complete project. So they do like to see, local contribution to the project. Yeah, very successful.
Well, and we know you guys are busy with all kinds of other projects. So as I said, I think the neighborhood really appreciates it. And it is completing that street from First Parish, Ronnie Shones, all the way down to Greenbush, which is great.
Right. Yeah.
So what was your total budget for your section?
The recommended value was 705,487,000.
And which is basically level services, Jim?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So who is admin 421?
So that would be me.
Okay, Kevin.
That's basically my salary and the office manager's salary. And that's pretty much level funded besides, pay increase requirements.
And that was 278,787 was the number?
I believe so. I was ready for highway, so I'm backtracking.
Yeah, all right.
$204,121.
All right. Next. Or does the board
Okay.
have any questions before I keep sailing along here? Feel free to raise your hand, interrupt at any point. All right, so next. Highway,
So next is 422, I believe in the book, and
Yes.
that's run by Mike Breen, who him and his crew did a fantastic job fighting the past storm. And I just want to bring up, it's not just highway and grounds, water, sewer, everybody, supplies manpower for this, and the guys did a really great job. So Mike runs the highway department and is involved in paving, basically everything. So I'll let Mike speak a little bit about it.
Hey,
Mike, there you are.
Unmuted.
how you doing? Oh, I'm muted again. All right, no, I'm good now. Yeah, but basically we do a lot of everything. We do a lot of culvert cleaning, we do basin repairs, we do hot top repairs, road repairs, sidewalk repairs. So we do a little bit of everything. And I don't know if you have any questions about anything else we do, or Kevin, you want to add to anything to that?
The budget is 1,196,400. It's an increase of $4,264, which is basically union requirements for payroll. So it's pretty much a level funded budget.
Okay, I just do have a question. In your narrative, you refer to a bottom-down roadway management plan. Can you explain to me what that is?
Sure, I'll jump on that. One of the things that we've been doing, and I a lot of people realize this, is we try to replace the water lines, we try to replace the drainage, the utilities first, and then work our way up, as opposed to just paving streets randomly and then ripping them up 5 years down the road to replace a water line. So most of the water projects that you see, we're following up with paving, which comes from some of the highway money, the road money. So that's our bottom up philosophy.
So what is bottom-down philosophy?
Bottom down, it's one way of saying it.
Okay.
I think that might be a typo. It's supposed to be, bottom up, we work our way up.
Okay, all right. So when we're doing, for example, replacing the water mains or water lines, does some of the money to fix the roads come from the water department budget, or does it all come from roads?
It's a mixture. It's a mixture
Okay.
of both.
All right.
We balance
those
it.
are my questions. Ms. Canfield.
Mike, Kevin, hi, guys. It's to the bottom up philosophy, looking at the goals for 2023. You have the Baileys and the Glades Road. Is that dovetailing with the replacement of the parking lot, Kevin, in Minot?
We were going to try to do it all and join it all together, if it's at all
Okay.
possible.
All right, yeah, I just didn't realize it because we did the culvert, 2 years ago, and I thought, so how much of the, where on Bailey's is that? Is that,
So that is the culvert area where it ends off all the way back into Glades Road.
okay.
If
So
you
it's all
recall,
part
we
of the
did the
same
culvert
thing.
and then we
Okay.
came back the following year, which was last year. It doesn't seem that long, but it was last year. We replaced the water line that went up to each edge of the culvert. We had got a price from the contractor doing the culvert, and it was a little high. It was very high, we thought. So what we did is we brought the water contractor in that we hadn't established a unit price for and had him do that work. And we had carried the extra lineal footage in the contract to do that work.
Okay,
So we saved
All
some
right,
money
well-
doing it that way, and then we're gonna follow up on paving.
okay, yeah, so obviously, we don't want to silo but this project and the Minot parking lot, and we had that meeting, trying to, see what we can do to improve the access to the beach entrance. So just I just remind you to be mindful of making sure all those things dovetail together, that'd be great.
In a perfect world, they would, and that'd be amazing, but I have a feeling, signing up 2 different paving contractors and having all the paving and everything else go on at the same time, I can't promise that, but that would be our goal.
Mr. Goodrich.
So this is more, I probably should ask this during the admin section, but I think it's all related. I didn't see any line items anywhere for any sort of like software for project management tracking. How do you, I'm just this is curious and to make sure that you have what you need. You know, someone call it, because we're gonna get into this later, that, you know, someone calls it, there's a street light that's out, or, you know, still that one street that hasn't been plowed. And then all the different projects you have, is that software do you have for like each different department, or do you have one for the admin to look at everything, or how? I'm just curious how that all works, if that kind of makes sense.
We keep lists. We don't have software. We write it down. If a street light goes out, we have a list and we make that go. Project management, we do the old fashioned way. We do track it. You know, I have a lot of experience with it. Sean does, and we do a decent job on it. We keep great files in our office. You know, but we do not have at this time any specific software or apps that are set up that could, you know, take a picture of a pothole and set that up. That might be something we could look into in the future, but we're not there at this time yet.
Is there, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I mean, is
Yes.
there a desire for that, or just haven't? I mean, I'd love to, I just want to be supportive if it's something that you said, oh yeah, I've looked into a little bit, or.
Well, I've looked into it a
maybe not,
little
I
bit,
don't know.
and we're not ready for that technology, to be honest with you, on our end. You know, we could be sometime in the future, but I don't think we're ready yet for that. You know, we're, how can I say it? You know, down in the highway department, it's kind of a 1 or 2 person show. Kim is answering the phones, taking care of everything, handling the emails. Mike's out in the field, and they do grounds in both. So they manage it accordingly, and you know, we haven't got to a point where we could set that up at this time.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to add work. I'm just trying to, if there's something to help.
Some of the stuff is great, and you know, I've seen it. Some of the software is expensive. It is something that we'll look at in the future, but I don't think we're ready for it at this time.
And we do take a detailed list of the streetlights, and they don't, until they get to about 20, then we call in the contractor to fix them. And Tim's got good lists on everything, on potholes, on basin repairs. And so we do have a good tracking of a lot of stuff, and we check it off as we go. And I mean, some of those lists are quite long, but we do take good, we do have good records of all the stuff that comes in.
Madam Chair, just to follow,
Yes.
I mean, I would love to see in here, and I think the public would love to see in here, you know, I mean, are we fixing 5 potholes a year or 100? It's some of these are just such great stories that you do. I just, you know, I think some of our residents and neighbors would love to kind of see where their money's being spent, because you guys do such great work. I just want to be able to share that with folks. That's all. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Anyone else? Maura?
Madam Chair, I do.
Yes.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Kev. Thanks for everything this weekend, to everyone. Great work. Kevin, I think we've always thought, you know, your department runs pretty efficiently and pretty, what's the word I want to use? Well, sparsely. So if you had additional funds, where would you put them throughout your organization? Is it in the grounds department, you know, the highway department? Is it, because often at the end of our budgetary cycle, we get a different number. So I think maintaining our town is of utmost importance, and would love to support where best possible. And by the way, the roads are looking great. So, you know, the roads that you did this summer look fantastic. So would love to continue to be able to support that.
You know, we were looking forward to the next St. Patrick's Day parade because we got the whole route all cleaned up finally. It's taken years. And now the parade's been canceled for so long. So we're looking forward to that, hopefully in March. If I had my choice, I mean, it would probably be manpower, and, you know, highway and grounds could each use manpower, but engineering could also use manpower because we're involved in everything from CPC projects to the dog park. And it takes up a lot of time. an effort. So we're all hands on deck with it, and we get a lot done. But I could use, on any given day, our tree crew that goes out and cuts trees down. The next day, they're out doing potholes and helping out with potholes, or cutting
Right.
grass at the fields. So, we're pretty lean all the way through. Don't mean to sound like that, but
No,
Mike
you are. That's
gets a
why I
lot
brought,
done.
yeah, no, that's why I brought it up. You are lean, and, I know everybody's doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And so if there's a place in which we can add, so there's greater efficiencies, I think it'll help everybody.
One of the best things we've been able to take over or kind of do with our crews, and it's been with some of the equipment that we've purchased over the years, is we used to depend a lot on contractors to do sanding. And the cost was pretty expensive to bring a dump truck in with a sander in it. And we've been able to handle it all in-house, so that, believe it or not, it is a significant savings by us doing all our own sanding with our own equipment. It hurts us in other ways, because if we need a dump truck or something to that effect, all our trucks have sanders in them. So it's not an easy task to pull it out, so we would rent a dump truck. But the work we get out of the guys, especially in storms, is fantastic, and I can't say enough about them.
No, for sure. Great job. Thank you for this weekend, Mike, to you and your whole team, and the sewer and water guys that are here too. You're right. It takes a village to take care of our village.
Sure does.
And Mike, if Mike has guys that are out sick, for a highway crew, he may pull over a couple of guys from grounds to help out. And there's a lot of grass cutting. And like we say on some of these buildings, when the new buildings come in with the landscaping is, we reach out to the different departments and say, we cut the grass. We don't have guys, we don't have the manpower to go in and weed or trim. And our idea of trimming is run it over with a mower. We're not the best landscape architects. So that's how we do it. And, we tell them to budget in the future that they probably need, have to have a landscape attend some of their properties.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this particular item? I think we're on highway still. So next up would be snow and ice. How appropriate.
So that I believe it increased by $1. Typically, salt prices have gone up significantly. We're paying, I believe, over $12 a ton from last year for our salt prices. This past storm, we used a lot of salt because of all the blowing snow on the road conditions, as well as ice forming up. And, it was a tough storm. It was a pretty good sized one.
And this budget does not include removing rocks and debris and boulders from streets from our coastal issues, right? That's a different budget?
Sometime they might get mixed in a little bit. No, it's just salt.
Yeah. Well, I bring it up only because I think it's worth repeating that we are unique in terms of the fact that we don't just have to remove snow and ice after a storm like this past weekend. We need to remove debris and rocks and move things and bring in loaders. And so we have, unless you're a coastal community with our vulnerability, people don't realize that, we have expenses that other towns, just look next door to Norwell, they don't have the same expenses that we have after a storm like we recently had. So we appreciate that that's an issue for us. But thank you for all the work that was done this weekend. It was amazing. Anyone? Snow and ice? Nope. All right.
Hey, Kevin, on the snow and
Yes.
ice budget, or maybe Nancy, you know the answer. I see an overtime line for about $100,000. Is that always?
Yes,
That's always been in there?
it's always been in there. So all the storm, like the Saturday overtime for all the staff that were working at storm gets charged directly to the snow and ice budget.
Interesting. So in 2020. And that was always in the budget. That line item was always in the budget for that.
Yes, and I actually I rearranged their budget or reallocated their budget a little bit and moved some money out of that line because it wasn't getting spent as much because it's been quieter winters, and put it over in the roadway maintenance. So where we buy salt from.
Okay. So their regular pay are somewhere else. What about the contracted plows that we hire?
That's under equipment rentals. That's
In
the
that-
$150,000 line. So if a storm happens, like I ask Kevin every year to make sure that the storms happen between 6:30 and 3:30 on Monday through Friday. Because that's
does.
regular time and there's no extra cost. Unfortunately, he and Mother Nature don't always comply with that request. And so it's when we're at an overtime cost that it charges directly to the snow and ice budget.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions? No? All right. Next up, we have public grounds, 429.
Public Grounds is again, run by Mike Breen. He does a fantastic job. I wonder sometimes how we get everything done between cleanups for graduation or just cutting all the grass for all the fields. The group of guys we have are great, really good with tree work and everything else. And as I said, they do the roadside cutting. They're involved in a bit of everything. They do a really, really great job. And as Mara said, if I could supplement somebody's, workforce, it would be grounds, highway, engineering. They all just do a great job. They also take care of the cemeteries. But I will leave it to Mike and he can talk about his budget.
My budget's for this one here is 1,100,4,219. That's my budget for that. And like Kevin said, the guys do jump from mowing lawns to and taking care of the trash. They jump to the trees, and it is a slim crew. So when we do tree work, we're missing 2 guys in the field in the summertime, and during snow removal, a couple of the guys that go with public grounds that cut trees have to stop their roots and go, and they're cutting trees instead of and their roots are building up. So like Kevin, Morris said too, what Kevin said about the staffing is important because it is tough to juggle all that stuff with the limited crew we have. So. And anything else on the budget, let me know.
Well, if I may, if the board will indulge me, I want to read a list of the open spaces that the Public Grounds Department takes care of. They include Hatherley School, Central Park, Gates School, Cudworth Playground, Lawson Park, High School Grounds, Football Practice Field, Town Hall Greenscape, Green Bush Open Space, Sand Hills Ball Fields, Town Library Green Space, Elm Park, The Common, Beaver Dam Ball Field, Jenkins School, Wampatuck School, Cushing School, Cushing Field, High School Soccer Field, and Driftway Park, North Scituate Village, Hollett Street, and Ann Vinyl, the Central Fire Station, Edward Foster Cole Parkway, Teak Sherman Park, Mount Hope Cemetery, Cudworth Cemetery, Egypt Park, Purple Dinosaur Playground, North Scituate Playground, Route 3A North River Pump Station, Countryway Cedar and Summer Streets, the Public Safety Building, the expanded library, the new middle school, and more to come. So I think it's important that people understand, and that's just the open space. That's not talking about having to cut down trees and all the other things they do. So unsung heroes and with a small staff. So thank you very much, I think, on behalf of the board and the public.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Mike, what type of computerized system do you need? Because it's called out here that we're organizing 2 cemeteries with no computerized system.
Yeah, if the system right now, when we're looking up graves and everything like that, we have to go back to the books and go look for the deeds and then go in and find the cemetery. We have books for finding people. And then we have to go to the cemetery and look. So everything's kind of like, it's a real ordeal too if we can't find someone. So it's all in old books and everything. And we just like to get it into the computer so we can type in and it'll pop up the location, the person, who else is in the gravesite at the time. It's been an ongoing thing for years that we've been trying to get this organized and up to speed. So it's not, so some days we spend almost a full day trying to find graves and everything like that.
Yeah, that seems crazy to me, and something, when we're talking about efficiencies, I think, Kevin, we should look into that. And even if we partnered with the Veterans Advisory Council to identify grants from that avenue, but also I wonder, would getting a computerized system technology fall within the CPC historical definition? Might be worth exploring.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Maura. It is something that we needed. We tried doing an Eagle Scout project. We, locating a lot of the graves and everything else. And Mike had found this company that specializes in graveyards to do this and help digitize everything and get it all down.
So there is a capital plan project for cemetery maintenance program, and it was recommended by the town administrator, and it has been heard by capital planning. So
For this year? Nash?
Yeah, on the fiscal
okay,
23
good.
plan. So I think it's $50,000. So
All right, great.
that may be coming before you in a meeting or two when capital planning makes their recommendation.
All right, we're gonna keep that top of mind. Good. Mike, maybe there's hope along the way down the road.
I hope so.
One of the other things that Mike's guys do is the empty trash barrels 7 days a week. Especially in the summer, we can get up to 164 trash barrels. It's a lot of material, and it takes two guys up the whole day running around with the trash truck, picking everything up. Just something else I'll bring up when we say time-consuming things that are done in his departments. And he shares it back and forth with Grounds. Grounds usually takes it, or in Highway.
During the summer months, the two guys are on the trash truck all summer long, because unless there's a real rainstorm or something to slow the people from coming in, the business districts have to be emptied every day in the summertime. The beaches have to be emptied every day. The ball fields have to be emptied every day. So it does take two guys out of the cutting and mowing and tree work to do the trash. And that's a constant, our season in Scituate, that's where it's the busiest for the two guys. We lose.
And that's 2 out of 7, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, and if I could make an editorial comment that if people see a trash barrel is filled, don't leave your trash beside the trash barrel. That's asking your town employees to have to get on the ground to pick things up that you could take home yourself. So if a trash barrel is filled, take it home with you. I don't think anyone here would disagree with me on that. Anything else? Public grounds? So that's that for most of the DPW. Next, we have Transfer Station Enterprise. And who's going to cover that?
Always an exciting one. Sean McCarthy is overseeing the transfer station. He's got a great group of guys that work down there. I hope everybody uses the transfer station. I'd like to see more people using the transfer station than private haulers. It helps our recycling rate, and it drives the cost down, but I'll leave it to Sean.
Great segue into trash from public grounds.
Yes.
And speaking of employees, that's one place. Could consider adding one in the future or the near future, only because how disruptive it is to go from 4 to 3, just for someone to take a lunch break. It's an active place. Kevin and I are involved with social recycling, and we get to hear about other towns, and their numbers don't come close to what Scituate's doing on a daily basis for not only the municipal trash, but everything else that we handle. There are a lot of specialty items that there may be a fee with, but you can dispose of them properly, which is what we want to do. We don't want to find them on the side of the road. So there is an opportunity to do it. So some of the items do have fees with them, and that's only because it's passed on from the vendors we use to dispose of them. And that's a constant battle. The rates are going up. They're starting to charge additional hauling costs just for the trucking. What used to just be for the material now has a hauling fee with it. So social recycling is good to hear how other people are handling things. Opportunities for new vendors. You hate to jump ship too early, especially if you're receiving good service from somebody. They're dependable, but ultimately it's the cost, and continuing to find the right vendor to handle it for the appropriate cost and not pass it on to the customer. Although we had to raise the rates a few months ago to a few items, and that's exactly why. It was costing us more to handle it than we were charging the customer. So unfortunately, the end user ultimately pays. But other than that, I do have to say thank you to the guys down there. They made it through COVID. They were being particular about cleaning the equipment and the area for the public, and they kept strong with that. And I didn't lose anybody this year for needing time off for it.
Wow.
So it's a big help. And thank you, Mike, too, because I can pull a highway or a grounds guy from Mike when I'm down a guy during the week, and they do fill in on the weekends when I need them. So it's good to have those supplies nearby.
Right.
So thank you, Mike.
I assume people understand too that not only was the transfer station closed on Saturday because of the weather, and I think it might have been closed Sunday, but you used the transfer station people to help with the road clearing and the plowing and all the other stuff that has to be done. So, that's what happens when you run lean.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's exactly why it was closed. 2 of those 4 guys were clearing Cole Parkway.
Right.
The driftway, and the other 2 tried to keep up with it in the transfer station. So to have them circling around in heavy equipment and have it open at the same time, now there's nobody operating any of the equipment to handle the recyclables and things like that, because they're in the equipment trying to clear snow, and it can be a dangerous place on a sunny day.
It is. You have to be careful down there.
So yeah, no, I thank you for mentioning that, because that's very important to know that that's why it was closed. They weren't there. They couldn't handle the trash at the same time. Thank you.
Well,
I
the
gotta
other thing
say-
too that I think that people don't understand is that we used to actually make money on recycling things. Now we're mostly paying to recycle things. So that market has changed dramatically over the past few years.
I gotta say that Saturday is probably the first time since I've been here that we didn't get a call asking if the transfer station was gonna be open.
I know that was the big question at the emergency operations meeting. Will the transfer station be open?
We're making progress, Jim.
Yeah.
I
We'll
think
get
that was
there.
good to call it early and let people know. Friday, I heard, was extremely busy. So
I
they
bet
took
it was.
advantage of it. Yeah.
Can't wait an extra couple of days with your trash in your house. Anybody else? Transfer station, and we didn't raise the rates for the bags or the stickers this year, right?
No, just the items that increased, the specialty items, so to speak. Yeah, those are the only items.
Just a
Our
quick,
rates have been increasing.
Tony?
I'm sorry, Tony.
go ahead, Kev.
Our rates have been increasing significantly, all across the board with the transfer station as well as water and sewer. I want to clarify where their enterprise funds, I didn't include them in the general fund talk for adding manpower. Same with water and sewer. They could all use
Right.
bodies. The other thing I just wanted to bring up is that we've been in the process of replacing our equipment. We have on order for a new loader, a new backhoe, and a new puller truck over the past 3 years that have been approved through capital. We have orders for all that equipment, and it's significant lead times well over a year, as well as for one of the highway trucks. We're just a year to a year and a half. It's pretty crazy on getting equipment in parts and pieces, even for plows. So we're dealing with that also.
Tony?
Yeah, Sean, just a couple questions. I see that the main changes in the budget are the hauling fees, which went up considerably. But the other one was a reduction in the line for technical services. What was that?
Oh, the request, I think initially back in October, November was the uncertainty on Stockbridge Road. The investigations, the old landfill on Stockbridge Road that we handled at town meeting once we knew what DEP was looking for in terms of extra costs for sampling or groundwater monitoring and things like that. That's why that wasn't kept in there. There was a town meeting vote to handle that.
Okay.
In the special.
That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
Anybody else? Nope. I guess we can move on to the sewer enterprise, number 440. I see Will Brandon is here.
So Will runs the sewer department, again,
Yes.
lean.
Yes.
They do a great job on that. You know, they've been maintaining everything, making some upgrades, doing a lot of cleaning. You know, and he's got plenty of challenges ahead of him this year. We don't know what the chemical market's doing. We're watching it very closely. It's been all over the place, but I will hand the budget over to Will.
Thank you for that introduction, and thank yous across the board. Our personal services, we matched the town administrator's recommendation at about $320,000. And the only way we make that work is by sharing our resources, as you've already heard tonight. So a big special thank you to the guys over at Highway and Grounds and Transfer Station. They're always there to support us in a pinch, recovering from storms, recovering from incident emergencies as they arise. It's wonderful how we all get to work as a team. One category, a couple categories where we have some differences is like personal services. We're being recommended for $806,000 there. You will notice a difference in the department request. The lion's share of that difference is in our rentals category. And for us, our rentals category is our sludge cake disposal. So that's an essential process for our treatments that final product needs to be taken somewhere for proper disposal. We were hoping that contract would continue at its current rate for another year. However, our current contractor has notified us that they need to increase the rate by 10%, and that rate may increase further before the year is over. So that's a pretty challenging situation for us budget-wise, but we hope to be able to overcome that in the future by doing some engineering design for better dewatering technology for our sludge cake. Another category of ours is materials and supplies. That's another area where you might notice a difference. We are recommended for $253,571. The largest difference there was due to chemicals and lab supplies. And similar to the issue of the sludge cake hauling, we're seeing increases in our chemical costs. We've also been noticing some relatively higher flows since the month of July this year. As you may all recall, July was one of the wettest Julys on record, and that directly impacts our chemical consumption. And that trend hasn't really alleviated since July. So I know the water department doesn't want to hear it, but we're very much hoping for a dry spring and summer of this year. Sorry to jinx you there, Sean. In the future, we may be looking for some more support. We're always trying to replace equipment at the sewer plant at the highest rate that we're able to, and to develop an inventory for our equipment so that we're able to respond quickly if any equipment goes down. I'm pretty much taxing my mechanic to maximum capacity. I really don't think I could give him any more tasks, and I'm incredibly pleased with the rate and quality of work that he's given to us. So we're very lucky to have the staff that we have. but we're pretty much pushing them to max capacity. We're also approaching a permit renewal year. So over the summer, EPA and DEP, it's very likely they're going to be reaching out to us this summer to discuss the terms and conditions in our new permit, which will most likely come with higher treatment, higher treatment limits and more frequent samplings and other challenges like that.
So will there be a timetable, I assume, associated with that process?
With the permitting process?
Yeah. 'Cause
Yes,
we're running on an old permit, right?
yes, they've indicated they're going to be issuing general permits in July of this year. I'm awaiting for further instruction from those boards.
All right. Questions from the board? Maura?
Question for Nancy. Nancy, I know you did these budgets a long time ago, but just listening to Kevin and Will about chemical costs, is there a reason, do you think we should still be level funding it to 2022? I mean, I know his ask was significantly higher, but I don't know if you still think that makes sense.
No, we're as concerned as Will is about some of his costs, especially now with what's happening with the sludge cake disposal. But sewer enterprise is the only enterprise budget, the only budget in front of you that is not self-supporting right now. In order for this budget to be self-supporting at what's been recommended to you to review, it needs at least a 3 to 4% rate increase. So anything added to that budget in addition to that is going to bump that rate increase even higher.
Okay.
So that's our concern. I mean, it certainly can be factored in and you could put additional funds in any of those lines, but you need to understand that that rate increase will have to happen, or you'd have to use retained earnings to fill the gap. And we just we just got away from doing that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Other question, Tony?
Hey, well, thanks for all your work and the great job you've done there. Can you speak to me just kind of in layman terms, capacity, where we are? You said water levels a little bit higher than you expected. We're all looking to reap great benefits from all the work we did down on Rebecca and down by the lighthouse. So where do we look there after you've had a few more months to?
We've got a little bit of good news, bad news there. Shortly after the project reached substantial completion, we were below 80% of our capacity, which was amazing to see. It was the first time in about 8 years or so that we were at that level. However, unfortunately, the trend since July has pushed us up to now we're at about 95% of our capacity. So that is disappointing for us to hear. However, we're very thankful that we completed that project. If it weren't for that project, we would have likely exceeded our capacity and be suffering fines and penalties at this time.
So give me your expert opinion on what happened.
Groundwater levels townwide remain elevated from the heavy rainfalls in the summer. And we still have an incredible amount of old decaying clay and cast iron pipes. What makes it pretty challenging for us is a lot of the defects that we found, at least the lessons we learned from the Cedar Point project, was that we've got issues on the private property side of these services. So we're currently in the process of engineering, designing, further inflow and infiltration improvement projects and sewer replacement projects in order to address these capacity issues. So that's a major component of our capital plan.
So you're saying at this point in time, we're still at 95% capacity after the Cedar Point project?
Correct. Yeah, we went from just under 80% at project completion to now being over 95%. And that's all driven by weather and groundwater and rainfall. We also have a number of projects that are being built in town. Those projects are going to be going online in the near future. So it's essential that we keep up with our improvement projects to offset those additional flows that are going to be coming in from projects like Seaside at Hatherley, which is at nearly full build out at this point. We've got the MBTA Drew Company project, which doesn't even have any occupants there yet, and the Riverway condominiums, which are in the process of connecting to town sewer. So they help with our enterprise fund in that they're paying connection fees. However, they're going to be using and really putting pressure on what little capacity we have left.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, can we set a meeting up to go over this in a little bit more detail? And this isn't a budget kind of thing, but we really have to. I'm really surprised at this information that we're getting right now. So I think we've got to understand a little bit better and figure out what next steps are.
Yes, and I do recall that Will had reached out to us at a certain point in time to have this sort of discussion. So we'll definitely, move it up onto the a future agenda sooner rather than later. It is surprising information.
Madam Chair, can I speak for
Yes,
just a second?
of course.
This is the first year since I've been in Scituate, and that's maybe almost 6 years now, that the reservoir was spilling over all year long. We never stopped spilling water. Actually, we've been, plus 3 or 4 inches, and it's backed up behind the reservoir even more. We've actually released water on several occasions to avoid having too much water coming down. So this has been a historic year in terms of rain, just to give that vantage point.
Well, and if people aren't paying attention, more water is good for the water department. More water is bad for the sewer department. So we apparently can't have it both ways, unfortunately.
Well, our
is, and we
sewer
also
system's
had-
supposed to be closed.
We also had the complete build out of Toll Brothers because now just about everybody's all connected up there. So that second phase has been connected up since the
Right.
since that other project at Cedar Point has ended. And that's in full use.
Yeah, but when we
Anyone
gave them
else?
that permit, when we looked at the numbers, there was capacity for that. We weren't putting it back up against the red line. Again, it's a time for another project, but Sean, I get your point about it, but it's kind of disheartening to think that when we have water and we flow it into the ocean, that it's going into our sewer system on the way. Especially when we thought we found the big hole in the dam and we plugged it on Cedar Point.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Sean. Will and Sean. So next we have Water Enterprise, which now is Sean.
Next, we have Water Enterprise, exactly. Sean Anderson and his crew has done a fantastic job. Brown water calls are significantly down over the years. We've made a lot of improvements with new pipe, as well as work towards pilot studies for a new treatment plant. And I'll hand it over to Sean's guys. And again, I'll thank him. His guys all helped out this past storm. They had a whole section that they did, overseen by their foreman. They did a great job. So on that, I'll say, Sean.
Okay. Thank you all for your time tonight. And I want to take a moment to thank all my staff, all the staff out in the fields, in the administration, in the office. I'm very grateful for all the staff that I have. I'm very fortunate to have them. We did have a few major projects ongoing this year. We had the 2 water main projects, which is a lot to take on in the summer. I want to say thanks to engineering for helping us out with some of the inspectional services on that. We had the green sand filter plant for well 17A. That should be coming online very, very soon. That was delayed a little bit with some COVID delays. And also my department did struggle with COVID this year. We had a lot of personnel out, some of them multiple times for COVID, some of them caught it twice. So, to give them a lot of credit that even when we were down staff and fighting COVID, they were still able to give our normal level of services to the people. So they did a great job. Now I'll dive into the budget. You'll see most of the items that did increased 30%. That was Kevin and myself getting together and doing our best guess at what electricity, it's mostly utilities, electricity, natural gas. Supplies went up 30%, and hopefully that's enough. To give an example, copper almost tripled during this year, and then it came back down and it's about twice the price it originally was. So all of our copper pipe that we use in the ground, brass fittings, all of that stuff has gone up in cost. Fuels and lubricants, we also went up 30%. And chemical and lab supplies, we went up 30%. And they vary greatly when we called around, from 20 to 30% increase all the way to fluoride doubling in price is projected. So I did try to go down in a few items to compensate where I could. And happy to take any questions.
Well, you're busy at the water department, that's for sure. Any comments from the board? Everyone's busy studying something. No questions? So Sean, you say well 17A is about to come on?
Yes, it is. We're waiting to hear from the DEP to do an inspection. And once we get their inspection, we actually took some samples today that we needed to take to have that inspection. And once it's inspected and they give us the green light, we'll be putting it online.
Great. That's great news. Anybody else?
So
yes, Andrew?
This is just kind of broadly, maybe this is more for Nancy. I mean, all these different, we're seeing these electricity prices jump everywhere and all these different budgets. I mean, and we, from our, that solar array that we have, that's going to cover the 1.1 million. If you're looking at sewer, water, you're at 790,000 just in electricity. Street lights, another 125,000. I mean, we get all of that back from those solar arrays.
And that's a good question. We generate 100% of the equivalent of what we use, but it doesn't pay our utility bills. So we don't take in revenue to pay our utility bills. It's what we actually generate.
And I'm just to try and help these. I mean, if there's a new water treatment plant and they have solar on their roof, or any of these other municipal buildings that may or may not have solar, can we not tap into that to help lower some of these costs?
Well, one, I don't think we can add any more solar because we're already creating 100% of what we're using. So that's been an issue before, that we actually have an agreement with South Shore VOTEC to buy some of our metering credits. So that's why some of these new buildings you see don't have solar panels on them, because we're already at our limit. And we just can't give away. That was a problem we had when we brought the solar array on. We had to go find someone to partner with who could take some of our net metering credits.
So it's illegal for us to put on a Tesla power and on one of these buildings to save that power before it goes to the grid or anything else.
It's not illegal. We just have to negotiate with the power companies as to how we sell back those credits.
Yeah, I mean, it's over $1 million. It's a lot. Anyway, it's one of the biggest jumps in all of these different budgets that just made me think about it. So, all right, thank you.
Other questions? No? All right.
I was going to say this for the end, Madam Chair, that,
yes.
And this is sort of a whole department thing. I know that the engineering staff flagged the heavy lifting that's going to be coming for the water treatment plant work coming on, and that'll obviously lean on Sean and the water department too. Is some of that work possibly being contracted to support them? I mean, I'm just a little concerned about the manpower on that big project. Maybe that's a question for you, Kevin.
So yeah, we will use specialists when that's going in. We will have a we have an owner's project manager now in Ty and Bond, and we have Woodward and Curran doing the design work. And when that's being constructed, we would have an owner's project manager on site full-time that specializes in that type of building. Because it's not your typical building. It's not like putting up an apartment building. It's a little more complex with the depths, the filtration systems and everything else. It's a lot more tricky. If we use ozone in this, for example, there's also just sorts of specialty welding, specialty TIG welding for stainless steel. So we'd need experts for any of that. We wouldn't attempt to take care of that all. We'll be involved in the whole project, weekly meetings and getting involved in everything. When something big like this happens, it does draw a lot of resources away from everything else. But we will also have specialists in there overseeing some of the work.
And then just to follow up on Andrew's comment, I mean, it makes zero sense given the commitment by the state to transition to clean energy that we would have impediments in our way to continue that transfer with more sellers. So I think maybe that's something we need to do a little more homework on, how we can align and reduce our costs at the same time. Doesn't make any sense to me either. But that's for another day, not for budget day.
All
Well,
right.
it's what the budget process, really bubbles up in front of us, right? So it's good.
Right.
It is budget.
Unless there are other questions, I think we can let all of our DPW people go home if they're not already home.
Get some rest.
Yes, and
Thank you.
again, I know people sometimes think we say thank you too much. I don't think we can ever say thank you too much, especially after the weekend we had. And so to everyone, thank you, thank you. So next we have on our agenda review petition article wind turbine. We did receive a citizen's petition with the requisite number of certified signatures. So it will be on our warrant as a citizen's petition. The language basically says that they would like the town to turn the turbine off permanently. I don't know that it needs any further explanation. The article, it's very clear about what they want us to do. So does anyone have on the board have anything to add or to say about that? I'm not seeing anyone.
No.
All right. I do see a few people in the audience who I know are interested in this issue. If you would like to speak to the board, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing anyone.
I think David Doherty.
See, I don't see his hand raised.
No, he did raise his hand for a second, but okay, he looks fine.
Okay. All right. So the citizens petition will be on the town warrant as a citizens petition. And as is normal, the citizens petitions are at the end of the warrant, at the end of the meeting. So just to clarify that. On to our 8:15 discuss vote wind turbine article for annual town meeting. Jim, I believe, is on the docket to discuss that with us. Jim Boudreau.
Yeah, the board had discussed previously having an article on town meeting separate from what the citizens had. When we talked about the shutdown, the evening shutdown, Tony had said he wanted that to go to town meeting, to have town meeting bless that if we were going to continue doing that in the future. The board had conversations about other levels, other things they wanted to do. So really what the board needs to decide is, what do you want to put before town meeting? Is it a continuation of the shutdown for evenings year round? Exactly what is it that you want to put on the warrant? Obviously, you don't have to put a shutdown. There's already one of those on there.
Right. So does anyone want to discussed this in terms of what we might want to do, but what we don't have at this point, we have a sort of a guess, I think, a pretty good guess as to what it would cost us to shut it down all year round at night during the hours that we have it right now. And that's because we did shut it down in the summer from 11 to 6. We've since shut it down from sometime in December, and we agreed we would shut it down until town meeting was able to weigh in. So we're expecting that we'd be able to estimate pretty closely what it might cost us if we were to go either the partial half a year, essentially half a year shut down at night, or the whole year shut down at night. And then, of course, there's the obvious question, if we were to propose buying out, or whatever language you want to use, buying Scituate Wind out and paying them whatever, we would determine it would cost. And that's a much more complicated discussion. And Jim and I talked about it a little bit today, but it relates something to do with, we've got a lease with Scituate Wind. We lease the land to them, but we also have a contract with them to provide power. So that's going to take a little bit to sort out if we want to go down that route. But since there already is a citizen's petition on to shut it down all year round, we may permanently, we may just want to choose to go the partial shutdown, but that's up to the board to, think about. And I don't know if we're ready to vote tonight on that or not. I'm suspecting probably not, but yes, Ms. Canfield.
Just a question on timing. So in order for us to when do we need to have a decision, a final warrant article prepared so that the other advisory board can review it as well? What's the timing on that?
So, excuse me, on your master schedule, the advisory committee is voting all articles on March 3rd, and the select board is voting all articles on March 5th. So you have this meeting and the next meeting.
That's it.
But if this is our article, we would have to go to the advisory board, right? To explain it to them, whatever it is we're proposing. So if they're voting on March, I'm sorry, is it 5th?
They're voting on March 3rd, you're voting on March 1st.
Okay. We'd have to go to them prior to March 1st with whatever it is we're proposing for the article.
You could take your vote on March 1st and then appear before them at their March 3rd meeting.
All right. Okay.
Pushing it a little bit.
What? That's pushing it a little bit.
Yeah, it's pushing a little bit for
Yeah.
everything together.
Yeah.
I mean, when the discussion was going on, the board was discussing the shutdown. Mr. Vignani's point was, if we're going to keep it shut down, we need to go back to town meeting and get their approval to shut it down. But there was some conversation about whether we wanted to shut it down completely. And I just said, the board's going to tell me what they want to do. As I said, the article to shut it down completely is already there. So you don't have to file that article.
Right.
So really, the next fallback for the board would be to shut it down at night, year round. That would be the next logical step back from a full shutdown.
Right.
Yeah.
The other shutdown, the summer shutdown, the board's already done. You wouldn't need to go back to town meeting for that. So I would just recommend, if the board is looking to pursue something, even if you support the full shutdown, if that had failed, then you'd fall back. This would be the next thing you'd fall back to. The next level of shutting down would be to shut it down at night all the time. Shutting it down just in the summertime, don't shut it down at all. Those really are the three options that the board would have.
Yes, Maura?
Well, I think it's important for us to keep our own article on town meeting, regardless of the new petitioner's article that came forth this week. And it was my understanding, I agree, Tony wanted to take it to the townspeople for that greater endorsement. I'll just start the conversation. I mean, I would be inclined to support a full shutdown during the evening hours, so that we can get that analysis. So I would like further analysis, but so we can also, continue to do what we spoke about a couple of months ago and get the townspeople's endorsement for that action.
Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, talked about this before. I think that's a prudent step for us. I think it's for the year-round, just at night shutdown. I think that's what I support. I think it's what we discussed last time, and I think, and to Tony's point, having to go to town meeting for the contract, I understand. So that's what I would support as well.
Yeah, I
Another-
guess,
Yes, Tony?
yeah, are we voting? So what does that support? I guess I'm confused, Andrew. You're supporting making that the question?
I'm sorry, I didn't say, I said that very inelegantly about the need to go to town meeting for whatever we decide.
Yeah.
There was some back and forth about that for the contract and how you clarified that. That's all I meant. I'm sorry.
So I think that Jim, there's 4 scenarios, right? You either keep it on all the time, you turn it off all the time, or you do the seasonal night thing. And I think once and for all, we've got to just get this finalized and not have to talk about it, 3 or 4 times a year, but we have to make it simple enough so that it can be, so that it doesn't create this huge, voting scheme or whatever. We're just going to figure out what the people want and do it. And that's one of the 4, there's 4 choices. And I think, Jim, we could use your help in terms of what other towns do when they get in scenarios like this, and how do you present it to the town so that we can get something easily explained and easily selected, and get the decision made, again, so that we're not constantly battling as to what the scenario should be there, and not counting dollars all the time, and we just need some finality to what this structure is going to do.
Well, I think this is kind of unique. I'm not aware of any other town that has faced this in the way that we're looking at it. Again, you can leave it on, the board can just say, we're gonna leave it on all the time, full speed. But I don't think that's anything that this board would even contemplate. You've already shut it down for numerous times over the summer, what I'll call the summer shutdown, the seasonal shutdown in the summertime. And you extended that to full time at night this year, with the caveat that you wanted to go to town meeting to basically bless that option. Then there are other discussions about, well, do we want to shut it down completely? Do we want to have that discussion? And as I said, that's already covered now through town meeting. There's an article to shut it down completely that the board can choose to support or not to support. So really, at this point, does the board want an article that would basically say, to see if the town will authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into an agreement with Scituate Wind for the cessation of wind turbine operations at night, year-round, from this to this.
No, I'm not asking, I know what I want. I'm asking for you to figure out how to ask those 4 questions to the town and saying that, here's the scenario. If you keep it on, you make, giving the financial picture and the impact to everybody out before the town, so that they made a decision many years ago to put a wind turbine there. And they didn't have all the facts back then. So we've got to present them with all the facts, financial and otherwise, and let them make a decision on how this thing runs. Whether it's keep it on all the time or shut it off all the time or anywhere in between.
I don't think there's a way, Tony, to let someone vote on 4 different options on a warrant article. It just would be too unwieldy.
I think that's part of the presentation, right?
Town meeting has already voted to run the windmill. That's already happened.
Right.
Town has voted to have a bylaw that allows for windmills. So that has happened. The Board of Selectmen then use their discretion to say, we're going to shut it down at night in the summertime. Based upon the cost analysis, things like that, the board had the discretion, they did that. When we looked at the full-time shut off, it was the position of the board that was significantly more expensive than just the seasonal shut off. And that should go back to town meeting to be blessed as an option. Subsequent to that, the residents have filed a petition article for your fourth option, to shut it down. So the first two things have either been voted on or done. It's the second two that are really in play at this point, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Well,
I think
that-
tomorrow's
that's-
point is. I
No,
don't
but you're
know how you
making the
get people-
assumption that the board, the board made the decision to shut it off at night, but is that even what the town wants?
Well, that's what would go to the.
That's
town
what we're gonna
meeting.
ask Tony.
Question
No,
would be
no,
a
but
town
in
meeting.
either scenario, do they want us to shut it off seasonally? Do they want us to shut it off permanently? Do they want us to shut it off at night?
You can't,
Well, I guess that question there, Tony, is the glass half full or the glass half empty? Because you've been shutting off at night in the summertime for several seasons. I don't know how long, I think before I've got here, which has been 4 years. So you can make the argument, if someone in the town didn't want to shut it down at night in the summertime, they could have brought a petition article to town meeting telling you to keep it on. And they did not. And again, that's kind of a glass half full, glass half empty argument. I don't think you would find anybody who would support leaving it on in the summertime based upon the conditions that have been testified to and things like that. And the cost is not great for a summertime shut off because they produce more power in the wintertime than they do in the summertime, according to Scituate Wind. So really what the board had discussed was the full-time nighttime shutdown and whether that should go to town meeting or not to support that spend. But there's no way that I can think of without making everybody's head explode to try to come up with an article with 4 different options for the town. You'd have to break those into actually 4 different articles and then somehow find a way to present it.
And count them.
But I think the first two have been done. The town voted to have windmills. We have a windmill. The board voted to shut down in the summertime. There's been no objection to that shutdown in the summertime that I'm aware of from any resident anywhere in town. The next iteration was to shut it down all the time at night. And that's what the board had discussed, asking town meeting whether or not they supported that or not, based upon the estimated cost. And then again, the residents then came in and said, okay, here's our petition to just shut it off. And we're working on what the cost implications of that would be if that happened.
Ms. Canfield.
So I think Jimmy just summarized it perfectly. I think that what we need to do is the article should say, the article is to propose to turn it off year round at night, here are the hours. Then next meeting, we need to have a final conversation about the cost and estimate and how we're going to pay for it. And then our board votes. Either we support it or we don't. If it's 5-1, great. If it's 0-5, well, I guess we wouldn't put it on if we didn't support it, right, Jim? I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
if you
rub.
didn't support your article, why would you put it on?
Right, that would be the rub.
Right, different from the petition article, which automatically goes on, you can support that or not support that, but that goes on the warrant regardless of what the board thinks.
And I'm sorry, I thought we had good numbers on year round. I know that we at various
We
points
have the numbers year round at night. Yes, we do. We have those. They're estimates. We'll get a
Well-
better idea. The longer we do it, the better estimate we'll get as to what is actually occurring. But the summer estimate that we had was very close to what the actual costs were.
Right.
So I would think that the estimates for nighttime shut off would be fairly close. Again, weather dependent, how windy it's going to be, things like that. The real unknown is if we said, okay, you need to shut it down, lost power, violation, there's a whole bunch, capital costs to take it down, if it had come down. There's a whole bunch of variables there that we would need to work through. We've asked Scituate Wind what they think it would cost, because that would be our liability, right? If they said $5 million, $10 million, we can disagree with that, but that's the limit of our liability. Their height would be the high number. So we've
Right, and
asked
we
them.
need to vote on that by March 1st. So that conversation has to be complete by March 1st. On whether we're going to support the citizens petition.
If you want a recommendation in the warrant, yeah. You don't have to take a position. You could say, what town meeting, probably a town meeting, this is a conversation for the moderator. If you have two articles like this, regardless of their placement in the warrant, you would generally discuss them at the same time. So you consider Article X and Y together, and then the town would vote on them that way, as opposed to, you know, ours is Article 10 and theirs is Article 30, because that's what the bylaws and the charter say, how we have to do the warrant. It's the same conversation, just varying degrees of the conversation. So I think we'd have conversations with the moderator saying, okay, these are basically, they're dealing with the exact same topic. We should take these up at the same time.
May I, one more question?
Yes, Ms. Canfield.
So just to be clear, so if this board recommended it, and a majority recommended going with a year round in the evening. So let's say it's a 3-2 vote, we turn it off at all night long, all summer long. If that failed, if that failed and the citizen petition failed, we would default to our summertime shut off because we haven't rescinded that as a
Correct.
direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
correct.
All right, I just wanted to be clear.
And Mr. McKeever is making me yawn. He's yawning. It's catching.
All right.
So I mean, I can draft something for the next meeting. It definitely be along the lines of to see if the town would vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into an agreement with Scituate Wind for a shutdown of the wind turbine year round at night from the hours of, I think they're 11 to 6. I'd have to go back and look. I think it's from 11 to 6. And that's it.
All right. Any other
So we'll
comments
do
from the
that for the
board?
next meeting.
No more from the board. I know
Mr.
we have a
Green.
bunch of people here. If you, I can't see what your name is. I'm sorry. You've got your hand raised. Seth, can you see?
Bob
Green.
Yep.
15 Elm Street.
Oh, now I see your name. Thank you.
All right. One thing I wanted to kind of talk through here is one option, because I think we're kind of conflating some things. Correct me if I'm wrong, the turbine was approved under a special permit. And there are guidelines for that special permit. And if the violations of that, if the guidelines of that special permit are violated, then that permit becomes invalid, and then wouldn't then that contract with Scituate Wind then become invalid, and then all the whole money we owe them, they owe us type of thing kind of goes away. That's my concern, is that, you know, we're talking about shutting it down. The root cause of us shutting it down is the inconvenience and the annoyance of the residents around the wind turbine. And, you know, with the sound study and the peer-reviewed sound study that's gone to Mass DEP, and I don't know where that situation stands, but it seems like we agree that there's some annoyance factor for the wind turbine for the people living around it. So we've at least conceded to shut it down at night during the summer when people might have their windows open. But, you know, we've kind of established the baseline that there is an annoyance factor to the wind turbine. So I guess my question is, if it's annoying the residents that live near it, and again, the one in Kingston was shut down by somebody that was 700 feet away, and we have residents 640 feet away from this industrial wind turbine. So again, we're kind of conceding the fact that it's causing some discomfort and you know, for our residents. So we're agreeing to shut it down at night, or agreeing to shut it down at night year round. But if it's problematic for the residents around it, would that then violate the special permit? And then if the special permit is invalidated, then would the contract with Scituate Wind then go away? I know in Kingston, that's kind of what happened. The contractor down there, you know, filed for bankruptcy, and it still sits there on the side of Route 3. That's another, you know, another problem where we have to deal with taking it down. But that's my thought process here, is we've agreed that it's causing a problem for people that live near it. We're making the concession to shut it down at night, but then wouldn't that then you know, invalidate the special permit? That's my thought process, and I'm glad I had time to voice that question.
Thank
I don't think it invalidates the special permit. If Scituate Wind is in violation of the conditions of the permit, then they would have the right to attempt to cure those violations. The bylaw, bylaw, I guess, specifies that they have to be in compliance with the state's noise regulations. We have a study that says they are. The residents do not agree with that study, but our study says they're in compliance. So it would be difficult for us. If they're out of compliance, it's easy, right? If they're out of shut down until you're back in compliance. That would be the easiest thing for the town to have. For the study to come back, it says it's out of compliance, doesn't work. They have to shut down until they're back in compliance. But we would then have, right now, we would have to go to court and testify against our own experts that the windmill wasn't in compliance. It gets complicated. It's not as easy as that. But if they were out of compliance with the special permit, long and short of it is it doesn't invalidate the contract. They do have an opportunity to cure, and then that starts that road going down. If they can't cure, then what happens and things like that.
Anyone else? Yes, could you please identify yourself, name and address, please?
Ms. Casper, you're
you're
gonna have
on
to unmute yourself. I've just asked
You're on
you to
mute.
unmute, Ms. Casper.
Ellen Casper, 120 Gilson Road.
Thank you.
Just one comment. He's correct that you've decided that it is a problem, so you have turned it off for us at night. We really would appreciate it if we could have it turned off earlier, because some people do go to bed earlier. I mean, it's bothering us at night. It's waking us up. We would appreciate, common quiet hours in towns are from 7 p.m. At night. So we would appreciate that. And you've also mentioned that the power, it generates more power in the wintertime. And I think a lot of people think that because the windows are open in the summer, that it's more annoying in the summer, and it is actually more annoying in the winter. With the windows closed, it's so loud, and we've already testified that it comes right through our homes. It vibrates, it wakes us up. So it really needs to be a year-round shutdown. And Bob Green is correct that it doesn't comply with the special permit. And if they are allowed to correct it, then we should allow them to correct it. I mean, if that's the route they have to go through, it's not compliant, and we need to say that. I mean, we've been going through this for a really, really long time. And again, people don't continue to complain like this if it's not a problem. And you've turned it off for us. So you've acknowledged, Ms. Canfield has acknowledged that it does cause health problems. And we would appreciate if you would use everything that you can, which includes declaring it a nuisance, because it is. And there is laws to back that up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. Mr. Darty, your name and address, please, for the record.
David Darty, 122 Gilson Road.
Thank you.
I'm confused as to what we're really doing here. Because as I recall, a month or so ago, you had a selectmen's meeting where you discussed this already, and you voted unanimously to put this thing on the town warrant and the town meeting, saying that you want to shut it down year-round from 11 to 7, and you're asking for the support of the townspeople. And that was what you voted on. And you were waiting for somebody to write this thing up, whether it was Jim Boudreau or town council. And now you're back to discussion again, whether you're going to say to do it, shut it down year-round. I don't know how many times you have to vote on this thing. Why don't you just draft up saying that you're going to write up and write it right now that you propose to shut down the wind turbine on a yearly basis, year-round basis from 11 to 7, and it's gonna cost so much money if you really want to put that in there. I don't know if you should, but put that in there and ask for the support of the people. That's it.
Yeah, the cost wouldn't be in the article. That would be as part of the presentation. It wouldn't be in the article,
It'd have been the advisory committee report, probably.
just in the presentation. I mean,
Mr. Darty, I think that's where we're trying to get to. So, but not everyone necessarily on the board is in complete agreement, and we owe it to have this discussion. And
You voted for it.
all right,
Who
Mr.
wrote the
Darty,
minutes of that
Mr. Darty,
meeting? You all unanimously
Mr.
voted to
Darty,
do that.
Mr. Darty, I don't want this to devolve into an argument. I heard what you said.
No argument, it's fact.
We
You
all.
want to send you the tape?
All right. No, I don't. Thank you. Karen, did you have something to say?
Oh,
You
well-
raised, I thought you raised your hand. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, I was scratching my beard, but to David's point, and it's great to see you, David. Your point, I think what the board agreed was that we wanted to bring it before the town meeting to have their say. So now we're going through the process of what does that document look like? What are we going to agree on it? I think we all agreed that we're going to put something, I think I speak for the board, that we will put something forward and then we'll go through the process. That's what we all agreed was that whether we supported a year round or not, we thought it needed to be brought to town meeting. I think that's accurate. So we'll write it, Jim will write it up. We'll bring it up to the next meeting. We'll have the final language approved just for the, process wise. Then this board will vote on whether or not we all agree with that.
Or not. We may not all agree, Karen.
Right. I said whether we all
Okay.
agree with that.
All right.
And the vote will be what the vote is, and then it goes through the process. Advisory will look at it. It'll go to town meeting floor. That's my expectation of the timeline. Anyone disagree? Because
I just wanted.
Yes, Andrew.
Just to clarify, so at the next meeting, we'll all take a vote on, and we're directing now to the draft would be for, just to be clear, it's a year-round shutdown at night. And that's what we're asking for. And then we'll vote on that. We'll get the draft because we don't have a draft of anything. Next meeting, and then that's when we'll take the vote. Just to be luminously clear. Is that okay?
I believe that is where we're heading. Anyone else? All right. I don't see anyone else, so it looks like we'll have language for the warrant article for the select board to vote on at our next meeting. All right. So no vote. Well, we do have it listed as discuss vote, but I think we're just, since we don't have the exact language. Does everyone want to wait until we've got the actual language in front of us?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we have the discussion and now we're going to move on to the next agenda item. Discuss vote declaration of surplus 27 Brook Street, Nancy Holt.
So we're bringing back before you the disposition of 27 Brook Street. There was a town meeting vote in November of 2020 to sell the old Minot Fire Station and 27 Brook Street and use the proceeds from the sale of those two buildings to reduce the impact of the campus center, which is the senior center, and the rehabilitation of the Veterans Memorial Gym for accessibility improvements. So old Minot Fire Station has been sold. I expected a ban to be before you tonight. It's actually going to be before you at your next meeting, bond anticipation note renewal. And there is an outstanding bond anticipation note for the senior center of $2.2 million. We're going to be able to retire over $800,000 of that with the private donations that you receive from the Friends of Scituate Seniors and from the proceeds from the old Minot Fire Station. So there'll be just shy of 1.4 million that will be renewed at your next meeting. But to date, we have borrowed $10 million permanently so that we're actually repaying principal. And that was felt on the taxpayers' real estate bills this current year. The February bill is the first one it was really reflected in. So our estimate in the spring of 2019 to the townspeople of what this project would cost them was $2,230 over 20 years. And to date, with what's been borrowed, the 10 million, that impact is $1,405. So there's a good delta between that. We're at 63% of our estimate. If we borrow the remaining 1.4 million of the authorization, that's less the proceeds of the old Minot Fire Station and less the proceeds of the private donations. That would mean another $242 over 20 years that the taxpayers would have to pay. And it would still be less than what was estimated in the spring of 2019. We'd be around 74%. But I think we can do better. And I'm asking the board to consider again to release 27 Brook Street, declare it a surplus, and to sell that property. We did have an appraisal of the property done. The highest and best use of that property, the appraiser found, was not necessarily for it to be a residential property, but actually to be commercial use, such as a childcare center based on the zoning for that area. And that was due to the retrofit costs. He found that it would be too expensive to retrofit it for residential use based on the size of the lot and the current zoning. The appraised value is $690,300. So that's why I wanted to bring it back before the board, because these notes keep maturing and we are going to have to permanently bond this debt. And it would be nice if we could reduce the impact even further on the taxpayer than what we currently have done with the other sale and the other donations that were so well brought in by FOSS. So that's, I tried to give you as much of a hard sell as I could in the backup information, just because I think this is what town meeting voted for. This is what we was put out there to the townspeople. And there's a lot of ask that's going on currently. There's been a lot of projects that have come through the pipeline that the taxpayers have supported. There are several more big projects that the taxpayers are going to have to make decisions on coming up in the near future. And I think this is an opportunity to really lessen the impact of this particular project.
Well, comments from the board. I guess I'll start out by saying the reason we didn't release this when we released the Minot Fire Station was because there was some discussion about the possible suitability of using the property for housing, especially, moderate, affordable housing, we'll use that word, and or especially potentially affordable housing for veterans. And I know that Mrs. Curran had, asked us to think about this. I don't know if you've got anything you want to say in terms of, wanting to continue down that route.
Well, there's great interest from both the Affordable Housing Trust and the Veterans Advisory Council for looking at this property for those means, but it's not something that's going to be resolved in the next 12 months. And I certainly understand the impact that we have. We have a duty to reduce that impact on the taxpayers since we voted for it. What I would ask is that if there's a way, when it does go out to auction, should the bidder use it for some sort of residential purpose that it had, and it's more than one unit, that it has an affordable component. That might be amenable, right? And I don't know if that's feasible. People certainly have argued with me over what can and can't be built there. So I'll just leave it there, right, for consideration, that if we do release it to auction, that if we can factor in some sort of affordability, should it be used for residential purposes? Because we all know you put it out there and we get a consultant that says the best use is for a childcare center. That's not what's going to go there.
Yes, Ms. Canfield.
I I like the idea of making, of trying to expand affordable options. But I do think that if we put that kind of restriction on an auction scenario, we will depress the value. I think it'll be contrary to the purpose of reducing the debt on Council on Aging. Is it getting close to 10? Because I'm feeling like I'm talking like it's 10. I think it'll.
Only
I think that-
9:09.
Yeah, I know. Well, daylight saving. I think we'll be leaving money on the table, and I don't honestly think that given the overheated market the way it is right now, I think you're right that it's probably going to be very attractive to a lot of people for private. And if somebody wants to come in there and put a single family home, we've already seen it demonstrated they're willing to pay significantly for that opportunity. And if you're telling them they have to put, an affordable apartment somewhere, I think that'll depress the attractiveness of the sale, unfortunately. So I think it's a matter of what the priority is.
Anybody else? Yes, Andrew?
I mean, I'll just say, I understand the value of going down trying to find more spots for affordable housing. I'm just, the value, the 690, I don't know if there's other areas that maybe might be less expensive for affordable housing or some other area. I don't know if that's.
And we do have another lot, Andrew, so that's a point well brought up. There's a lot over on Stockbridge that we still can partner with somebody to develop and do a veterans preference over there. So we do have another option still available to us.
We do have some other affordable units coming on. The Drew project has affordable units in it. Those projects down on Ford Place that you're seeing or that are proposed when I sent out your DRT, they're looking for density bonuses, which require affordable units as part of those projects. So,
Is that the one that backs up to the Rivershed, Jim, that you see?
there's another one that's going to be built back there that is looking for a density bonus. There's one when you look at Rivershed, we haven't gotten the plan yet, just kind of a, hey, would like to do this look.
Oh, no, not that. I know, not the old. It's okay. I'm with you, what you're talking about.
But I'm just, the projects down there looking for density bonuses are supposed to have an affordable component to them. I know they've asked for the planning board if they could do the affordable components off-site, but I have no idea where they would propose to do them. But there are some other affordable units that are coming on. And then, of course, the 40B on 3A Avenue, Tony is another one.
I guess, the only thing I'd add is, I think we committed to take that piece of property and put it towards this project, which I think we should do. And, Karen has a good point that we don't want to deflate the value that we could get from that property. I do think I agree with Maura's. Part of what she's saying is we don't want to allow something to go there that isn't going to fit well with the neighborhood. So I think there's, I'd love to get some sort of understanding from planning in terms of what could go in there, because I'd hate to see, a small apartment building going there or something that is really going to change the, not fit well in that area. And then you wouldn't get the support of the people there as well. So, I could certainly see 3 units going in there, 3 condos probably going in there. You look at what went on further down the road. And that's not as distressful, but you just don't want someone to come in. I don't think we're going to get the 600 or, that's the assessed value of the piece of property with the building on it. We're going to get something less than that. But again, just try and have a little bit of control over what goes in there. And I think that's, kind of what Moore is talking about too, but having an affordable component of it. So I don't know how you can put that into the bid option that it's not going to be something out of character for the space.
If you want to put restrictions on it, you'd have to go with sealed bid process.
So it wouldn't be an auction.
Right, it wouldn't be an auction, so you're not gonna drive up a cost by bidders. You just say, you know, that these are the restrictions you want to place on the property and put out a sealed bid and see what you get back. And I mean, that's certainly within the board's purview. I don't know, you won't get, I don't think that you'll get the highest return as compared to just an open auction, but as you have pointed out, you have less control in an open auction. But whoever buys that property, they're still going to have to abide by planning and zoning regulations of the town.
Right.
It's also a very difficult site because it's in a floodplain, you have the river behind it, so you have all those issues. I asked planning, I think we could make a decision at the next meeting. We just need to make a decision. As Nancy said, when you make it affordable, it will seriously drive down the cost. You know, I know the affordable units that were built in Norwell, they gave them the property and I think they put up $2 million. And they ended up building 40 units, so.
Yeah,
It's
a big project.
It's a big nut. I mean, we're not gonna die, Nancy, if we don't have it, because we wouldn't have it done anyways. We put it off to the next meeting. I'll find out from planning what the actual zoning restriction would be in terms of the number of units you can put there, notwithstanding the fact that it's in the floodplain and there's a river. That would have a definite impact on what you can do there.
But Jim, this was, did I understand, Nancy, you had an appraisal done?
Yes, we did have a third-party appraisal that's required for the disposition of real property.
So this appraiser would have looked at all of those issues, right?
Yeah, it'd be in there. I don't have it in front of
Factored
me.
in-
It
they
would
would
run
have
that by.
factored-
Yeah, we'll run that by planning just to make sure it's right, but their best use would be, I think I said daycare, right, Nancy?
Yeah, there were limited uses because he identified it as a non-conforming lot, but I just want to keep it on your radar. So as Jim said, I have no problem with this kicking over to the next meeting and getting that information for the members from planning as to, you know, what's the maximum that could go on that lot without a special permit.
So to ask my question yet another way, the appraiser would have taken into account, it was a non-conforming lot, would have taken into account it's in a floodplain, would have taken all of those factors into any factors that would affect the value of the property, he or she would have taken those into account, right?
Yes, that's why they came up with the highest and best use of the, it could be a fraternal organization and it could be a childcare center underneath the, because the retrofit to make it residential would make it it would make it cost prohibitive. So he didn't see that as the highest and best use of the property.
Well, just my opinion, I don't think fraternal organizations are awash in cash these days. Second
You'd
of
be
all,
surprised.
you mean the moose?
You'd be surprised.
But the childcare situation, I mean, that's a tough business these days. I don't know. At any rate, so.
Quick question, Madam Chair.
Yes, of course.
So Nancy, in the scenario, if we were to do a closed bid, if we were going to put restrictions and a closed bid, would we be obligated to take it? Could we put a floor? Wouldn't be absolute highest, would it? Or could we put a minimum?
You could put a minimum bid on it. Might not get any bidders, but you can put a minimum bid on it. Yeah.
Right.
So that's from my opinion, I just want to know whether we need to put a restriction on it or not by hearing from planning board of what could go on that space.
All right, we'll send you the appraisal also in the interim. You guys can all take a look at that.
Okay.
Great.
And again, as Nancy said, we just need to know what direction you want to go. And if you want to make a final decision and say, no, we're going to keep this, we're going to do something special with it, we can get on that road. If you want to dispose of it, we can get on that road. But at some point, we just need to know what we're going to do so we can plan for that note, whether we're going to bond it, whether we're going to do it again, whether, you know, what we're going to do with that and how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and just, you know, and I keep pushing it because our insurance costs are going up and we're having to insure this as a vacant building. We have to heat it, we have to cool it, we have maintenance costs. So that's the problem when you build a new building, is you need to do something with the old building.
Well, I don't think anyone here wants to let this languish. I certainly don't think we want to go down the route of the mine at Fire Station, which took 25 years to sell. So, but we needed to explore what all the options would be for us as a town. All right, so we'll try to get that. Yes, Andrew?
Just one other point of data would be great to have. There has to be historical data on live bidding versus the sealed bid. I mean, is it a 1%? Is it 10% less? I mean, if we're only talking 2 or 3% to have that control, it could be worth it. If it's like 50, then it's a bigger discussion. I don't know if there is someone.
I think you would take a huge haircut.
I'm not sure we get the data on that, Andrew, without really having to spend a tremendous amount of time, because you'd have to look at each sealed bid that was done. What were the restrictions placed on it? You wouldn't know what it would have got it if it had gone to bid.
You can ask the auctioneer if he has any information.
Yeah, there's got to be someone must have done a study at some point nationally, like on average it's 10% less or whatever, but that's all right.
Well, I can go back a long time ago in Norwell where we had a buildable lot and it was for affordable housing purposes and we got $1 for it. And we built an affordable home. That's what we did. We anticipated that, we do that, but I'm just, when you're doing the affordable houses, the land cost is a big portion of their price. And it went to Habitat for Humanity was better. They got it. I think we got $1 for the property. Very nice house. It's beautiful. I go by it almost every day.
All right, so I'm thinking we're not going to vote on that tonight. Are we through? Can we move on? Yes? All right, thank you, Nancy. Discuss vote TPC Turf Products groundskeeping equipment for Widows Walk, approved at special town meeting 10/21/2021. That's hard to say. Article 5.1 for $202,190.90. Nancy Holt, Town Accountant, Finance Director. Wake up, Mrs. Canfield.
Sorry, not the company.
There was at the special town meeting in the fall, there was a capital article. One of the items was for maintenance equipment for Widows Walk. Ian has gone out and done his procurement through, he actually went through the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative because they had better discounts. And he got quotes on John Deere and Toro products. And the Toro product was the lower quote and also was the preferred equipment and was actually the equipment that they listed in the article when they were moving forward. So what's before you tonight is a request to award a contract to TPC Turf Products, who is the retailer for Toro, for 3 pieces of equipment. It's a Groundmaster 4500, a Reelmaster 5410, and then a Kubota Grass Workman HDX vehicle. This is not all of the equipment that they wanted that was in that bid, but this is what they can afford. Their estimates for cost with what went to town meeting and what the actual costs have come back at, there is a delta there, quite a material delta. And even with placing this order, as Kevin mentioned to you earlier, everything is on back order. So it will take months for them to get this equipment. That's why Ian really wanted to get it going in the winter time. So hopefully they'll have something, but they can't guarantee it.
All right. Any questions from the board?
So Nancy, this is for 3 pieces of equipment, is that right?
Yeah, it's the Groundsmaster, the Reelmaster, and then the Workman, and then there's an attachment to the Reelmaster.
Are these lawnmowers, I assume?
Yeah, the industrial groundskeeping lawnmowers, yeah.
That's why they're master things.
Yes.
Landscaping equipment.
And if they had leased these, this would have added about $50,000 a year to his operational budget. That's why we went the route of having retained earnings, just make an outright purchase and not inflate the operational budget in case we have bad years.
Would you like a motion?
Please.
Yes, please.
Move to award the contract to award, move to award of contract to TPC Turf Products of Enfield, Connecticut for groundskeeping equipment for Widows Walk Golf Course in the amount of $202,190.90.
Second by Ms. Curran. All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Ian can have his lawnmower. We have a lot of lawnmowers. Discuss, vote, finalize select board commitment statement. To refresh everyone's memory, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, I believe that's their name, came in with a series of recommendations for the select board. One of which was that we adopt a statement to read in at the beginning of all of our meetings. And I think with the idea that other boards and committees would also read a similar statement. So we have there's suggested statement. I know Mr. Vignani had wanted to think about it and perhaps add something to it. I don't know if you do have anything you want to add to it. I would say personally that I would like the statement to be shorter rather than longer. And I also think it would be completely appropriate for committee chairs to read the statement and for us to read the statement and then to add, if we need to, that of course we will be following the usual meeting rules related to, how we conduct meetings, Robert's rules, et cetera. So does the board want to discuss this? Any comments?
Oh, go ahead, Tony. You're the one that.
Yeah, I'll just comment that I
Review it.
agree with you, Karen, that I think it should be, concise and to the point, but make the point that we want to get across. And I think the wording of this does that fine. I don't really have anything else that I want to add.
All right. So any other comments? I know, I just will tell you, I know that they started out with some very long involved language and I think worked very hard to make it so that it is succinct and that it will be well received by the community. So would you like me to read it so that the audience at home knows what it says and then we can vote?
Sure.
The Scituate, yes, Maura, someone?
I said sure.
Okay,
I'm just going to add that you already voted to accept it, so you really don't need another vote if you're not making any changes.
oh, all right.
Okay.
Well, that was easy.
So I think what we do want to ensure, though, is that we come up with some sort of a plan, because I think we did talk about extending this to all of our committees and our chairs, and how do we socialize that with them and encourage them to also adopt this, so it's throughout, all of our town committees that roll up to the board.
Well, if I could suggest, I think, Lorraine, you prepare the board books, right, for the chairs of the committees?
I've done that 3 times over the past 5 years.
Would it be
Yes.
possible just to add this as an addition to that book with whatever language we want to use, saying that, the select board recommends that you, or let's use the mandate word.
I'm happy to draft, a note as the liaison from the DEI committee that the board supports this initiative and that we're asking all the chairs and blast it out to them, and then maybe
Yes.
we go next steps with some kind of
Yeah.
printed version. So I'm happy to do that.
And then we can
Yeah, I
add
think-
it to the board book. So that.
Eventually, sure. Next reprint.
Yeah.
I mean, it can really be as simple as, please find attached the statement adopted by the Board of Selectmen for future board meetings. We encourage all town departments, committees, commissions, et cetera, to adopt a similar statement for the conduct of your meetings. And just send it out.
All right.
I
We
think we
want
were
them
gonna-
to adopt this statement.
Excuse me?
I said, we want them to also adopt this statement. I don't think we want to give all of our committee chairs the flexibility to come up with their own statement, because
No,
then
no,
they
no, no.
defy the objective of the DEI's initiative.
No, absolutely. No, all they
Okay.
have to do is substitute, instead of saying the Scituate Select Board is committed to, they would say the Community Preservation Committee is committed to, right? Isn't
Yep.
that the easy?
Yep.
So everyone's singing off the same sheet of music, as we used to say in high school.
Mhm.
All right, so Maura, you're gonna take that on as a,
Yep, will do. I'll work with Lorraine.
Great.
And we're gonna post it up around in the room, right? That's,
Yeah, maybe we can get it, printed in some, nicer paper and just frame it and whatever.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
All right. So on to the next item. Oh, this is a small item. Discuss vote water treatment plant financing options. Jim,
have we done this 10 times?
yes, I believe we have.
I wasn't sure if I was muted or not, 'cause I'm typing while I'm talking. Two options before you. Nancy has given them to you. They're fairly clear. One is to put the water treatment plant on the rates. The other is to put the water treatment plant costs on the tax bills and do it as an override. Next meeting, yes, we have to have a definitive decision. Rather have it this meeting, but next meeting.
Yes.
Have to have a definitive decision because we have to have the warrant article and it would also have to be added to the ballot for the spring.
And there's one other
39% increase in the water rates in the first year, about a 500 and change, short change on the tax rate in the first year. Again, Nancy's giving you the pros and cons. I had a call on Opera today. We've gotten all sorts of information about where there are different pockets of money coming in that we're going through. And as we discussed last time, I've made a direct plea to the lieutenant governor and the governor for some sort of cash.
There is one other caveat to this as well for the town meeting article. If it goes forward at the April town meeting, capital planning hasn't given you their recommendations yet. If we use ARPA funds that come from Plymouth County, the article must include that language or they will not provide us with the funds.
So
That's their
whatever
guideline.
we do, would have to say the town would use X, whatever it is, of funds from the American APA Recovery Thing Act. So,
Right.
yeah.
If it has multiple funding sources, they're requiring a town meeting vote. If it doesn't have multiple funding sources, it doesn't need a town meeting vote because it's a grant.
So can I throw a scenario out there? If we put it out as a debt exclusion town meeting vote, and then subsequently we get ARPA funds, we come back, can we go back to special town meeting and do a subsequent article? Or are we trying to get this on the ballot for May as well?
A subsequent article to reduce the borrowing? Is that what you're saying? If we got a more APA funds, it would just be the
Yeah.
same, almost the same language as Nancy will give me a Zoom slap. But it'll almost be the same language as using on the senior center. That'll be less any other funds received,
Oh,
donated.
but would that pass the ARPA test, their requirement?
As long as we're listing multiple funds, we should be okay.
Okay,
We just have to list that we're gonna use, it's gonna be an override, it's gonna be APA, and then it's gonna be minus any other funding sources that are received.
And if they require us to take a vote for their dollar amount, it can be in the motion for the maximum we can get through them. But where they're kind of leaving their options open as to how much is going to be allocated per community, I don't think they're going to be able to give us a hard number. So they can't make us vote something with a hard number if they won't give us a hard number.
But
So
we would have a number that was high enough
right,
that,
not to exceed.
yeah,
Right, so we're just under $6 million total that we're supposed to be getting from direct and from the county. If we had a $4 million project we wanted to do with APA funds, the board could just vote that. It doesn't need a town meeting vote. The county would say, okay, here's your money. Because what we're doing exceeds the available APA funds, they are requiring us to have a vote for the funds over and above APA before they would release the APA funds to us.
right,
Sure, got it.
Yeah.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm happy to start the debate because I have had a lot of conversations with different residents and I think it's more fair to put it as a debt exclusion and share it across the entire town because it's, it's our very basic resource and I don't think it should be on the water rates. So that's where I fall.
All right. Anyone else want to weigh in? Yes, Ms. Canfield?
Yeah, I agree with Maura, but I think I wanted to just go back to the question you asked. I think that we have to be I think Nancy said it right on how it would be worded. You have to put it, you can't say, get a debt exclusion for $40-50 million, get that approved, and then go ask for ARPA, because if it's paid for, they're not going to cover it.
So debt exclusions don't require, a debt exclusion vote on a ballot does not have a dollar value.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah.
So the
Then-
article itself would say that, it would be, it would not be subject to Proposition 2.5 less any other funds received
from blah, 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 blah.
prior to final borrowing.
Okay, yeah, I 100% agree with Maura that it's appropriate as a debt exclusion, and Nancy's pros and cons definitely lean towards that as well.
Anyone else?
Well, yeah, I mean, my opinion is the same. I think the way to fund it is better through a debt exclusion, not because of fairness or anything, but I think the benefits of being able to budget and being able to write the taxes off and the deferment for elderly people, I think weigh a lot with me. We do take a huge risk though in it not passing at the ballot. So that's that's
Well, we've got some pretty experienced people here that can help put together that plan. Right?
If it doesn't pass, then it has to go through water rate. I mean, we will fund it.
Right.
Just not. in the
Well, that's a
most
good
ideal way.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just have to get information out there and make sure everybody understands. Because it's a big number, it's
huge.
It's a really big number.
And you would also need to decide if you want to put it, I have a placeholder in both places. If you go the debt exclusion route in the special and in the annual, because it's going to have to be broken out from the capital plan because of that special language with Prop 2.5. So you can put it in either place.
Nancy, you're amortizing this over what, 20 years?
I've been using 20, but with that type of project, you certainly could do 25 or 30.
Yeah, I wonder what those numbers would look like.
The maximum right now, I think in the Clean Water Trust is 30. But I can run it under the various scenarios. I'll ask the FA for the current rate, because the rates I'm going to estimate high on the rates because we're in an environment where the rates are going to be raised.
Right.
Right. But we're also taking advantage of very, very low rates.
Right.
For big capital plan.
And we also talked about with this project that we would want to go to the Clean Water Trust because they should be flush with cash and see what we can get through them.
In ARPA, and I think it's in the Clean Water Trust anyways, but the ARPA language specifically says that the Clean Water Trust money can be a loan or a grant or some other thing. So the the state government might get this big chunk and say, well, let's really give some help to people and give them direct cash as opposed to just lending them the money.
Yeah. And Clean Water Trust did used to have a grant component to it. Used to.
Andrew, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm fully on board. I think it's for lots of reasons. I think the debt exclusion certainly makes sense. I'm with Tony though. I mean, if the Clean Water Trust is at 2% and that you can go to 25 years, I mean, it's incredible. Given the environment, it might make more sense. My only other question then for ARPA. So if so all this is factoring the whole 6 million into this, or so we do not need to put a dollar value, but we're just assuming all 6 just goes right to this.
That would be your decision. And I'm in favor of putting all the ARPA funds towards the water treatment plant because I think it's very transparent. We received ARPA funds, it went to A, B, and C, or we received ARPA funds and the whole thing went to the water treatment plant. It benefits pretty much the whole population.
It's easier, and it's fungible, right? Whether I use it towards the water treatment plant, it saves us $6 million. Whether I use it to, you use it towards, to fund the Hummerock water main, it saves you $6 million. Whether you put it towards a sewer project, it saves you $6 million. It's saving the taxpayers the same amount of money wherever you put it. From an accounting standpoint, from an accessibility standpoint, from a transparency standpoint, it's just easier to say, it's all going here.
All right, well, I guess I'll chime in with them. I'm in agreement. I think it would be, it's been one of the biggest problems in town, water. And I think there would be a great, I think politically speaking, it's a winner. And as you point out, I think Maura said it, that, well, if this doesn't pass as an override, then it's going to go back to the water rates. So there is a fallback position that people have to understand. And I think it's, Jim, you said it, to do it in one place is much easier to explain. So do I have a sense that we might want to vote on this tonight?
Sure.
Yes. Is there a motion?
Probably not.
All right.
Think one up if anybody has a sharper mind than me.
I think it's fairly simple that the Board of Selectmen vote to fund the proposed water treatment plant to a debt exclusion over our debt exclusion period.
So
Yes, sound
moved.
good?
Yes.
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodrich. All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next. That was easier than I thought it was going to be. Discuss vote drain layer license renewals. Someone make a motion?
Move to approve a renewal of a drain layers license for Guaranteed Builders and Developers, Inc. And move to approve a renewal drain layers license for James Merritt, DBA Pond Corp. Move to approve a renewal license, drain layers license for Iaria Brothers, Inc. Move to approve renewal drain layers license for PF Spencer Jr., Inc. Move to approve renewal drain layers license for McDougal Brothers Enterprises LLC. And move to approve drain layers license for Paul J. Legould.
Second.
Second by Ms. Curran. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani.
Yes, and I apologize if I butchered any of your names.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next on our agenda is discuss vote one-day wine and malt license for Mulaney's on February 13th from 7 to 11 p.m. for a special event, I believe. Yes, for private event.
To approve a one-day wine and malt license to Joseph Norton for a private event on February 13th, 2022 from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Mulaney's Fish Market at 8 Allen Place in Scituate, Mass.
Second.
Second by Ms. Canfield. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote, sorry.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Discuss vote board and committee appointments. Assign a select board member to the master plan implementation core team. To remind everyone, this is the outcome from our joint meeting with the planning board on implementing the master plan. Those minutes are available for anyone to read.
You
Does
approved
anyone
them
want-
tonight.
What?
You just
We already-
approved them earlier tonight.
Yes, I know, but
Okay.
But what I don't have in front of me that I was looking through the minutes for is who actually comprises the the core team. I know we need to appoint a select board member tonight to be on that team. And I believe has the planning board sent us the name of someone?
Yes, it's Patricia Lambert.
Okay, thank you. I thought I saw something.
And
So
in the minutes is the list of all the core team members that were appointed that night.
yes, which is why I'm looking for the minutes of that on my little phone here. I'll get there.
You don't have to appoint them all because they've
Yeah, we don't have
already
to
been
appoint them,
appointed.
but
Oh, all right.
we just have to do
The
the
only-
select board member. Is there anybody that's interested?
You only need to appoint two, the
Volunteering.
select board member and Patty Lambert.
Okay. Well, I know everyone's busy, so I'm happy to volunteer to be the liaison on that, or the team member, whatever we're calling it, if no one else has a burning desire to do so. I don't see anyone jumping up and down.
That's great.
So, do I?
Appoint Karen Connolly to the master plan core implementation team, can't even say it, for a term
I know.
of 1 year or until a successor is named as the select board member, and to appoint Patricia Lambert of the planning board as the planning board member to the master plan core implementation team.
We'll have to come up with an acronym for that.
Hmm.
Thank you for the motion, Ms. Curran. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodrich. All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Ms. Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, folks. Another committee. So next, liaison reports. Anyone have one? Yes, Ms. Canfield.
Just quickly, we already talked about the Historic Society request for a letter of support, which we'll do next week. Planning had their first workshop last Monday, I believe it was, on the cannabis bylaw proposal. It was lively, if you have nothing to do and want to watch that. They'll be hosting their next public workshop on February 10th. And I just want to commend our colleague, Tony Vignani, for being the very level-headed voice of reason at that meeting. So there's that. And then Jim already mentioned the charter. Charter has been rescheduled for this Saturday. And the intent is we'll take the recording of that meeting and have that available for distribution. It'll be hopefully a pithy summary of what the changes are. So we can distribute that for education.
Good luck.
Oh, and one other thing, Beach Association did use that outstanding CPC fund to buy 200 feet more of a replacement Moby mats for the beach. So that's a good thing. That's all I have.
Anyone else liaisoning? Yes, Tony?
Yeah, just a quick update. Financial forecast met, I think it was last week. I want to thank Nancy for getting all that information together. Made a few adjustments to the forecast for next year based on a couple of expenses that came in, which increased the budget nominally for both the town and the school.
All right. Andrew?
This is actually for future meeting. This Thursday's shark meeting has been canceled because they're waiting for some information. So there will be no shark meeting this week.
But they made good progress on the RFP, so that's a good thing.
Yes, they're still reviewing it. So they
Yep.
schedule it. So everything's going great.
Great.
Karen,
Laura?
I had just one comment. In the DEI meeting last week, and Jim, I'm just going to call you to attention, wake you up there for a minute. Jamil had indicated or left us a message that his Freedom Team is now complete. This is a very new approach for Scituate, and I think it would be really helpful for us as a board to understand what the Freedom Team is. So if Jamil and, Ms. Bill Burkhead can come in, or whoever some of his key members are can come in to us and talk to us in the next, couple of months. I think we should definitely be aware of this new strategy in town because it's pretty interesting, and it's it's a really neat initiative.
Yeah, I would try to get a time that works for everybody.
Okay,
Which would be Ellen, and based on our schedule also.
okay, thanks. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Right, thank you. All right, well, I think we're done for the evening. We've already approved the minutes and we have correspondence, I'm sure, Mr. Goodrich.
Great. I will just implore everyone to go, something for the MBTA, go to mbta.com/2022 fare changes. That's 2022 fare changes. There's a rubric of fare changes for parking, for link passes, 7-day link pass. It's a bit complicated. So go to the website to go through it all. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different changes. Some are good, lower prices. Some are probably a little bit higher, but go to the website to figure it out. Because I don't want to say something wrong, but check it out. And so all those changes will be done by July 1st, 2022 is the comment period. So you have until July. And that's all I have, because we talked about the historical.
All right. So,
Motion to adjourn?
yes, please, thank you. Roll call vote, or second by, sorry, second by Ms. Canfield, jumping up and down. Roll call vote, please.
Miss Conley,
Yes.
Miss Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich,
Yes.
Miss Curran,
Yes.
Mr. Vignani,
Yes.
and the dog in the
dog- the
background.
dog-
There's
voted
There's
yes.
Brady. Brady's, telling us that he's retired.
6-0.
Dog agrees.
The dog is ready to go. So motion to adjourn is adopted 5-0. Do you need us to come in tomorrow to sign documents, Lorraine?
Yes, please. Yes.
All right.
Thank
So,
you.
make your way into town hall tomorrow to sign documents. And with that, I will say good night to all and thank you again to Seth for facilitating yet another Zoom meeting. Good
Thank
night.
you all. Thanks,
Good night.
Karen.
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Hi, Jim. Night, Nancy.